If it's the last week before college football season, it is the season finale of Strictly Sports. Hello, friends. It is Anthony Florio here with you once again, filling in for Derek Ferreira. Now, initially, Derek Ferreira was going to be on our show tonight, but I was informed by Michael Bullock a short time ago that Derek will not be joining us tonight because he fell behind on some sports blogs for sports blog sites. So Derek will not be joining us tonight. That's the bad news. The good news is, however, for those of you who were wondering about his SummerSlam experiences, well, wonder no more. He posted a video on his YouTube channel, SLB 2008-09. It is now up, so check that out when you get a chance. But he may not be here, but we are. I'm joined as always by my partners in crime, as always, Michael Fletcher and Michael Bullock. Gentlemen, season finale already. My goodness. I mean, it seemed like just yesterday we were getting back into the regular swing of things. But
damn, it came by. It went by so quickly.
And I am more than happy about that. Trust me.
Yeah, it's been a pretty wild summer to say the very least. But you know what? Like we said, normally this is the summer of hard times, but I think we all can agree we're glad that this summer is over, and now we get to focus on sports that we really love and really care about, and that's the NFL, college basketball, and college football, and it's gonna be a wild, wild ride from now until February.
And I can't wait to be on that ride with you guys. So I think without further ado, let's get going.
Agreed. Let's do it.
And before we do that, I just want to channel my inner Devon Dudley and say, "Oh my brothers, testify."
Oh my brother, testify.
Yes, and yes, I saw them the other night, and oh boy, that's all I can say. So, all right. No, Derek, no problem. We got a big show here tonight. What we're gonna do, we're gonna start the show. We're gonna preview the college football season. We're gonna talk about only the major conferences and Notre Dame. That's it. The major conferences, the power conferences, and Notre Dame when it comes to the college football preview. And then following that, Michael Fletcher will share his experiences from Fenway Park back on August the 16th, just a couple of weeks ago. Michael Fletcher and our good friend Kaiser Butler went up to Fenway Park to see the Red Sox take on the Seattle Mariners. And then I will share my experiences from this past Tuesday night as I went to the Thursday night SmackDown taping with my older brother and his two friends. We went to that, and good news, my brother's friend finally emailed me the videos that I promised you guys. So I'll post those on my Facebook page for you guys to see. Good news, guys. You got the entrances of both Finn Balor and the Wyatt family, so you're gonna love those videos. I might post those in a little while, but that's just a couple of the videos that I have. I believe I saw 4, so those were 2 I know for sure. We'll see what the other 2 are, and then and I'll talk about that in the main event taping as well. And it also included, gentlemen, by the way, the first match of the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, which featured your boys, the Luchas, Lucha, going up against a very impressive tag team of Samoa Joe and the NXT champion, Finn Balor. Wow. Yeah, can't wait to talk about that. And then, of course, in our main event, for the final time, it will be our Major League Baseball Power Rankings. This is the last one. So, and hopefully there will be no controversy like there was a couple of weeks ago, which caused a major rift around here. So, so there you go. All right. So, so with that said, the show's underway now, and let's take a look at what we got. We got the college football preview, and all I can say is can't believe it, guys. It's going to be here next week. It actually all starts on Thursday night, and of course, when it comes to the Thursday night schedule of the college football, the big game, and it's a game that I know Mr. Bullock and Mr. Fletcher will have a major, and I do mean major, vested interest in. They're Michigan Wolverines going up against the Utah Utes. Oh yeah, I know you boys are going to be all over that one, like melting butter. So that's on Thursday night. So, of course, yeah, Utah, Michigan. That's the big one. And then, of course, next week, of course, when we do the College Football Friday, we'll get into those big games, of course, the big Saturday games, and only the games in the top 25, by the way. And trust me, I'm looking at it right now, and there's a lot of beauties on this one next week, and all I can say is it can't get here fast enough. So, all right, power conferences. That's how we're going to do it here. We're going to look at the power conferences, and we'll also get into Notre Dame. I asked Derek Ferrera how we were going to do this, and he says power conferences and Notre Dame. So here we go. Let's see, which conference are we going to start with first? I just want to go by how he did it. So he did a sports blog on this, by the way. So we're going to start it off with the ACC. We're going to start it off with the Atlantic Coast Conference. Of course, the for those of you who don't know, in the Atlantic Coast Conference, there are two divisions, the Atlantic Division and the Coastal Division. In the Atlantic Division, you have Florida State, Clemson, Louisville, NC State, Boston College, Syracuse, and Wake Forest. And in the Coastal Division, you have Georgia Tech, Virginia Tech, Miami, the U, Pittsburgh, North Carolina, Duke, and Virginia. So, my thoughts on this. Well, it's kind of wide open now, considering Florida State, Jameis Winston no longer there, no longer causing trouble, not being a noggin diva and Dinkelberg like he was for a while. But, of course, they're still going to be in that mix. Everybody knows that. And but there is a major threat. That major threat is Clemson. And Michael Fletcher, went out on a limb a few weeks ago when we talked about the preseason poll that came out. He definitely has a very I know when we get to him, he's going to definitely reiterate his points about Clemson. And yeah, Clemson is definitely going to be there. I'll say it like this. With a Jameis Winston-sized hole at quarterback and an inexperienced offensive line, Florida State should be vulnerable enough to allow somebody to seize the conference. There are enough flaws with the rest of the top competition. And Clemson, they're solely relying on a healthy Deshaun Watson, and Georgia Tech still has a substandard defense and has to replace a number of key skill players, and Louisville's quarterback issues may not be going away soon. So, and Florida State still has a lot of talent. So, with that said, I think Florida State will win the Atlantic, and Georgia Tech will win the Coastal. And I think Florida State, until Florida State, gets beaten, I honestly cannot go against them. But Clemson is my dark horse. Watch out for them, though. So I think Florida State and Georgia Tech will be the two teams that will eventually meet in the ACC championship matchups. So that's pretty much how I feel about that. We're not going to do bowl projections because that's way too early to get into. So with that said, I think Florida State and Georgia Tech are the two teams to beat. So I don't know how you guys want to, break it down. So with that said, I'm gonna start it off with my partner in crime in the Yes Movement, Mr. Michael Bullock. Your thoughts on this upcoming season for the ACC?
Yes, thank you very much, Anthony Florio. Yes, this is Mike Bullock here for the season finale of Strictly Sports. Delighted to be here as always. When it comes to the ACC, I do agree. Especially in that Atlantic division, it's Florida State's division to lose. I know they've lost some key guys. No more Jameis Winston, even though it's probably a good thing because there's no more Nog or Diva, Dinkelberg type moments that Jameis Winston had to go through. But the thing is, you can't deny that they're going to miss his leadership because he was one of the reasons why Florida State won that the last ever BCS national championship. So let's not deny that for a fact. And I think now they've got Everett Colson at quarterback now. So, and of course we all know how he did at Notre Dame. I mean, he was basically Kumsi Kumsa at times. So yeah, and I mean, you still got Jimbo Fisher as the coach. I mean, you know how well he can do with that offense. So until they can, until there's something that can make me change my mind on it, I can't go against Florida State. But Clemson, yeah, Clemson is a team to definitely keep an eye on in that division. So I got Florida State and Clemson basically finishing in the top two. Um, and then when it comes to the coastal region, yeah, Georgia Tech I think is going to win that division, no doubt about it. So yeah, so yeah, so definitely. And the thing is, they I think they got Justin Thomas back. Georgia Tech does, and of course he was one of the reasons why they won the Orange Bowl last year. So yeah, so definitely if he's back, they could definitely win that division again. So, but Virginia Tech, I mean, yeah, they were. I mean, yeah, they weren't that good, but who knows? Maybe they could challenge them. But the thing is, the thing that really concerns me when it comes to Virginia Tech is the offense. I mean, do they have the offense that could help them win games? So yeah, so we're gonna have to wait and see on that. So, but either way, I got Georgia Tech winning the Coastal Division. So either way, I got Florida State and Georgia Tech basically playing in the ACC championship. So that's how I see it happening. So yeah, so there's really nothing else for me to say except I'm going to toss it up to Michael Fletcher for his thoughts on the ACC this upcoming season. So Fletcher, I give it to you, my friend.
All right, guys, thank you so much. And, other than the Big Ten Conference, I'm always very loyal to the ACC. I'm practically the guy that covers the ACC in college basketball all season long, and a lot of people know that. And it's kind of very exciting to say the very least. But I do agree with you for the most part. I mean, I really think the ACC, at least when it comes to the Atlantic Division, it's actually a three-team race. You got Florida State, you got Clemson, and don't sleep on Louisville, guys. Louisville can always sneak up and surprise a few teams. I know last year in the Coastal Division, Duke made this miracle run, made it all the way to the ACC championship game, only to get upended by Florida State at the end. I don't think they're going to be much of a threat this year, even though I think they could be one of those teams. I mean, yes, Georgia Tech is probably the favorite going in, even though they do indeed have a lackluster defense. That's probably going to be one of the reasons why they might not win it. Virginia Tech, you never know with them. Va Tech has always been a stalwart, a traditional team that you see year in and year out, very dangerous. You never know what they're going to bring. And even the Pitt Panthers, and some people's been saying, watch out for Pitt. Maybe Pitt might surprise a few people. I don't believe it, but you never know what will happen. But I do believe that it's going to be Georgia Tech, and I got to go with Clemson, guys. I love what Clemson has been doing. I truly believe they are a dark horse to make it into the NCAA playoff once it's all said and done, and I believe they're going to be one of the 4 teams in, and I made that very bold prediction. So I actually will have Georgia Tech and Clemson in the ACC championship game when this is all said and done in December. I don't know where the game is. I think it's in Jacksonville this year, I don't know for sure. I might have to check that out real quick. I might jump real quick and check that out to see where the ACC game is held. But I'll get back in a little bit on that. Maybe the next time around when we talk to the next conference, then we'll go from there. But I got Clemson and G-Tech as the ACC final. With that said, guys, let's move on to the next conference.
And that conference is going to be the American Conference, the American Athletic Conference. In the East, there are 6 teams in each division. In the East Division, you have Cincinnati, Temple, UCF, East Carolina, South Florida, and UConn. And in the Western Division, you have Navy, Memphis, Houston, Tulane, SMU, and Tulsa. So, Michael Bullock, what are your thoughts on who you got doing things in the American Athletic Conference this year?
All right. Oh, yeah. I just had to unmute my mic there, so sorry about that. Yeah. When it comes to the American Football Conference, of course, you got basically in the East Division, you got of course you got Cincinnati, you got Central Florida, and yeah, and you got East Carolina, Temple, UConn, and South Florida, and then of course you got Memphis, Houston, Navy, SMU, Tulane, and Notre Dame. So yeah, of course Memphis last year, but basically they went 11-1 last year, had a really good year. And of course Cincinnati, of course went. And of course, Cincinnati basically went 9-3. So the question is, can they repeat? We're gonna have to wait and see. But and Cincinnati, I mean Cincinnati, of course, has former Notre Dame quarterback Gunnar Kiel, who basically helped shred some defenses last year, and basically, and the thing is, the Bearcats, they come back with the tops. They return with Kiel's top 7 receivers from a year ago, and the schedule does look good for them. And the only concern with their schedule for this year, when it comes to this year, could be going up against the Miami Hurricanes, so we'll have to wait and see. So I think because of that, I got to go with Cincinnati to win the East Division. Now, when it comes to the West Division, of course, Memphis won it, and of course, basically coming off of a win, off a Miami Beach Bowl victory. And they do have a quite favorable schedule in the month of September. So, and the one thing that could the one big challenge for them is they're against they do have to face SEC power Ole Miss at home on the 17th. So the thing is, they could, who knows, that could be a big game for them. And Houston is another team to basically keep an eye on in that same division. And when it comes to the East, I think Central Florida is a team that could definitely challenge them. But either way, I got Cincinnati and Memphis repeating, winning their division. But who knows? We'll wait and see how it goes. Things could definitely change. So with that being said, I'm going to toss it up to you, Fletch. Who you got winning the divisions of the American Athletic Conference?
Well, if you remember, a couple of years ago, they actually in the first couple of years, it actually was all together. There wasn't like the divisions East or West. This is actually the first year ever that they're doing the East-West setup, because what they did was it was basically one battle, and if you won the conference, you automatically got into the BCS. So, but now that the BCS is no more and they did away with it, now they're doing the East and West conferences. But, I kind of believe that, what you were saying was absolutely correct. I think the teams that you got to keep a very close eye on is teams like Memphis. I think SMU might be a little bit of a surprise, so just keep a close eye on them. Houston, I don't know a lot about. Navy just got added into the conference, so they're brand new into the conference. and who knows what we're going to see with Navy. Of course, the one game that I think everybody is always excited for is the legendary Army-Navy game. That's one game that I always get very excited for year in and year out is that game, and because it's tradition. It's like Notre Dame and USC, or Notre Dame and one of the great rivalries that they have, Ohio State and Michigan. We'll probably get into that when we cover the Big Ten later on tonight. And these are just conferences just games that we know every year is bad blood and whatnot. And Army-Navy is one of those rivalries. I don't think Navy's going to do amazing this year, but then again, you never know with Navy. Navy's always been one of those teams where some years they're really, really good, other times not so great. But Navy has had Army's number. I believe it's Navy's has Army's number in the last few years. I could be wrong about that. I think it's Army that's had Navy's number in the Army-Navy game, because I think it's like 11 or 12 in a row that Navy has kind of basically ended up on the losing end. Of course, anything can happen in that game, but East and West, I kind of feel like Cincinnati definitely is a favorite. But one other team that you might want to definitely keep a close eye on, especially when you're talking about last season, I mean the four teams you got to keep your eye on, and that I believe who could be legitimate threats is, of course, you got to say Memphis, UCF, because last year they were 7-1 in the conference and 9-4 overall. Can they turn that around? Can they be better this upcoming year? We don't know. Cincinnati definitely there. They were 9-4 last season, 7-1 in the conference. And then you have at least a couple of teams that you might want to keep your eye on. East Carolina, they were 8-5 in the season, 5-3 in the conference, and Houston was 8-5 in the regular season and 5-3 in the conference. I mean, those five teams right there were decent enough. But what really propelled Memphis to where they won the conference last year was they had a 7-game winning streak to close out the season. Basically, they were literally 3-3 at the start of the year, and maybe a couple of games here and there. And the next thing you know, they exploded. 7 in a row, 7-1 in the conference, but 10-3 overall. And that gave them the dupe, that gave them the golden ticket, and that gave them the conference title. So we'll see what happens there. But I agree, Memphis and Cincinnati should be at the end. And then, because there is no playoff format, it's basically whoever has the best record. First is determined by conference record. If that is tied, then they go to the overall record, and whoever has the better overall record, that's at that point you become the conference champion. So we'll wait and see what happens there. So with that said, Anthony, I give it to you.
All right. Like I said, I have those videos from the SmackDown taping. Bear with me. I'm in the process of getting them uploaded to my Facebook, so you'll see those in just a moment. American Conference. It has been an interesting few years for the American, but now the conference has expanded to 12 teams. We'll have a conference championship game for the first time ever, which I think is wonderful. In the East Division, Cincinnati seems like a solid bet thanks to a strong offense powered by quarterback Gunnar Kiel and some talented wideouts, but their defense has some holes, and if they suffer injury issues again, their second could go downhill fast. The rest of the division isn't strong, although Temple has a strong defense, but the West could be a fun one. Memphis had a breakthrough season last season, like Mr. Bullock alluded to, but they suffered a lot of losses on defense, while Houston has to rebuild both lines, and Navy will be seeing tougher competition. And you know what? I like Navy to claim that division, but I don't think they're going to win the conference title because I think Cincinnati's going to win it. So for me, my conference, my American goes Cincinnati and Navy in the championship game and Cincinnati as the winner. So that's just how I feel about it. All right, fellas. Now we're going to go into one of the big time conferences now, the Big 12. 10 teams in this conference. So Yeah, 10 teams in a conference called the Big 12. Yeah, okay. But nonetheless, we got TCU, we got Baylor, we got Oklahoma State, we got Texas, West Virginia, Kansas State, Texas Tech, Iowa State, and Kansas. All right, Michael Fletcher, you're up. Your number's up. Who do you like in the Big 12?
Well, as everybody knows, last year the Big 12 was all about Baylor and what they had done, especially out of the big run that they had from a year ago, and of course the TCU Horned Frogs as well was also a major threat. Basically, a lot of people thought TCU should have been in the playoff format and got screwed over big time, and definitely. Does everybody think that they're definitely going to have a shot at this? We don't know, but I will say this. Right now, the way the conference is set it up, this could be one for the ages. I mean, right now, I think we can all agree that the bottom tier is going to be, Iowa State, Kansas, and then maybe Texas Tech and West Virginia. That's going to be your bottom, with Texas and Oklahoma State right now, basically maybe middle of the pack. The three teams that I believe is going to win this conference is TCU, Baylor, and I got to do it because I know they'll probably watch it sooner or later when their internet is working again. But I got to go with D.D. Woodson and Kevin Woodson's Oklahoma Sooners. I think they are going to definitely be one of those three teams that could win the conference and win it all. But as far as I go, right now, the team that I would think of is that in TCU, they're a team on a mission, man, because, like I said, they felt they got slighted and they felt they got screwed when they did not make the playoff format last year, and boy, did they take it out on their bowl game because they went off in their bowl game and they absolutely dominated. So I know a lot of people are saying, oh, they're overrated this year. They're not going to be that great. They're going to lose a couple of games in the conference because they lost too many players. Definitely over the stretch because they lost Phil Dawson, they lost Chris Hedrick, they lost Kevin Smith, which is Kevin White. Those are bad loss, and then they also lost their longtime defensive coordinator, Dick Butkus. They lost him as well, so they think that right now they're not going to be as a lock or anything like it because of the fact that they lost a lot of great players on the defensive side, which is definitely no doubt about it. I definitely will say they're definitely going to be hurting a little bit. But, with a lot of the young freshmen that are coming in, and as a matter of fact, TCU had one of the top recruiting classes during the off season. I think they were ranked, in the top 3 in recruiting classes for the conference. So they're definitely going to be a threat in there. But something tells me this time around, I got to go with Baylor. I don't know why. I just feel like Baylor's probably going to be the team to win it. And then Oklahoma's probably going to be a close second with TCU being third. So that's going to be my 3. Baylor winning it all. Oklahoma in second, TCU in third. So with that said, Anthony, I give it to you.
Okay. Taking a look at what I have here. TCU is getting a lot of serious title buzz after a breakthrough 2014 season and an omnipotent victory over Ole Miss in the Peach Bowl, but you can't rule out Baylor. Yes, they will be breaking in a new quarterback, but Art Briles will work his offensive wizardry nonetheless, and the Bears return 17 starters. I think the Horned Frogs have the edge in their matchup due to being at home, but we could very well see both them and the Bears in the playoff. Oklahoma should improve off a disappointing 2014 season, but I think they are a clear step behind TCU and Baylor. So the way I have it breaking down, since there is no championship game, I got Kansas in last, Iowa State 9, Texas Tech 8, Kansas State 7, West Virginia 6, Texas 5, although Texas will be at Notre Dame next Saturday night on NBC. We'll talk about that next week. Oklahoma State is 4. And then my top 3, Oklahoma is 3. Baylor is 2. But I got to go with TCU, guys. I think TCU is going to be in the playoff. I have no question about it this time around. I love Trevon Boykin. I mean, you know the love affair I had with that young man last year. I mean, that team was so fun to watch. And I'm telling you what, I think TCU is going to be a serious, and I do mean serious, title contender this season. So TCU and Baylor, along with Oklahoma, those are my top 3 when it comes to the Big 12. So with that said, Michael Bullock, your thoughts on what do you think is going to happen in the Big 12 this year?
Yeah, definitely. A lot of TCU fans are still feeling like they should have been in that college football playoff. I mean, some people make a case that they should. I mean, with what they did, but that, I mean, that was definitely one of the most shocking moments when TCU didn't get picked for it. And then of course you got Baylor, who came off of a very good season, especially when they did have Bryce Petty, but now he's in the NFL. They're gonna have a new quarterback, but something tells me Art Biles is gonna be able to work his magic and try to make this offense go. But in the end, I think TCU is going to win that division. The reason why, like you said, Trevon Boykin, he's coming back, and it's just because of that edge that TCU. I mean, they're going to be playing with a huge chip on their shoulder that they feel like they should have been in that college football playoff. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say this: I think they're definitely going to be in it this year, without a shadow of a doubt. So I think TCU will win the Big 12, get into the college football playoff. I think Baylor will finish second. But Oklahoma State's maybe they could play a major role in what happens in that division. And then of course you got Oklahoma in there, and it's going to be interesting to see how Oklahoma does after having one of its most disappointing seasons in a while, because Oklahoma's always been a successful program. I mean, you take a look at some of the big names that have come out of that school, like Sam Bradford, like Adrian Peterson, DeMarco Murray. I mean, I could go on and on and on, but we'll have to wait and see how they do. But in the end, I got TCU winning the Big 12 and getting into that college football playoff this time. But I'll tell you what, if they get snubbed again, there's going to be a lot more. I think there's going to be a lot of more upset and pissed off TCU fans when it comes to that. But I don't see that happening this time. So TCU wins, get into that college football playoff. So that being said, Florio, let's move on to our next conference.
And it's a conference that's near and dear to both of your hearts, gentlemen. Who's ready for some Big Ten action? I know I am, and I know you boys are too. So here we go. It's the Big Ten. Let's take a look at what we have here. 14 teams altogether. 7 teams in the East, 7 teams in the West. The Eastern Division consists of The Ohio State University, Michigan State, Penn State, Michigan, Maryland, Indiana, and Rutgers. And in the West, Wisconsin, Nebraska, Minnesota, Iowa, Northwestern, Illinois, and Purdue. So I started off here. With all the talent they have coming back and a relatively small amount of holes on their roster, there is a reason why Ohio State is the favorite to repeat as national champion. They look to be a step ahead of the rest of the conference, even a very good Michigan State team. In fact, OSU has a favorable schedule to run the table prior to the playoff, but they better not look past a road trip to Virginia Tech in Week 1. Speaking of Michigan State, they are a playoff contender in their own right, thanks to an excellent quarterback in Connor Cook. Let's not forget about him. And as always, a strong defense. But they have to go to Columbus this year, and that could be too much to overcome for Sparty. A lot of eyes will be on Michigan, thanks in large part to new head coach Jim Harbaugh, but he's got a lot of work to do with the offense of the Maize and Blue, particularly at quarterback, before they become a serious contender. So, very simply put, I'll say it like this. If we talk about a conference that doesn't have a championship game, we'll just list the teams, in order. But if there is a championship game like there is in the Big Ten, we'll just go with the two teams who we think will be in it. Now, I love Michigan State. Don't get me wrong. I really do. I don't see them winning the East. Ohio State, like I just said, Ohio State is just way too good. And, they're far and away the favorites to win it all again this year. So you'd be an idiot not to go with Ohio State. So I'm going with Ohio State coming out of the East. And in the West, you got to go with Wisconsin. I think we're going to have a rematch of last year's championship game. It'll be Ohio State, and it'll be Wisconsin in Indianapolis. When all is said and done, the Ohio State University will defeat Wisconsin in the Big Ten championship, and they will be back in the college football playoff. And which bowl? Well, we don't know. We'll see. But like I said, Ohio State is definitely not only a lock to make the playoff, but you're it first. I think they're a lock to win the whole thing again. They are just like Triple H always used to say back in the day, they are just that damn good. And with whether it's Cardale Jones or JT Barrett, who's going to be running the thing, you're going to have Braxton Miller as a receiver. And then you got Bosa, the J.J. Watt of college football, and that very, very tough defense. Yeah, Ohio State. How can you not go with Ohio State to not only win the Big Ten, but to also win the whole thing again? So that's my story. I'm sticking to it. Ohio State and Wisconsin in the championship game, and Ohio State wins that, and Ohio State, to me, wins it all. That's all I'm saying. There's nothing left to say. Michael Bullock, your conference, your team, Michigan, what do we think? Big Ten.
Yeah, definitely. The Big Ten is definitely one of my favorite conferences, especially with Michigan in there. But when it comes to the East Division, as much as I want to see Michigan win it, the thing is I can't go with it. I gotta go with sorry about that. I got my my dog in the background. Basically, when it comes to that, but yeah, getting back to it, when it comes to the East Division, I gotta go with Ohio State to win that division because they're just too damn good. You got two quarterbacks that you could definitely play in there with Cardale Jones and J.T. Barrett, who both played really good and played a part in why Ohio State won the national championship. Of course, J.T. Barrett played the first few games, and then of course he got hurt, and Cardale Jones basically was the surprise on that team and led them to the Big Ten championship and, of course, winning the national championship. And, of course, you also got Ezekiel Elliott, another key contributor. Of course, you got Joey Bosa, one of the key guys on that defense. So then Michigan State, I think they could challenge them, especially you still got Connor Cook in there, but I just don't see it being enough to catch up with Ohio State. They're just too damn good. When it comes to that West Division, I definitely got Wisconsin winning it. But the team to keep an eye out for in that division is Nebraska. Who knows? They could challenge Wisconsin, but I just don't see that happening. So, in the end, I do agree. I got Ohio State and Wisconsin winning their respective divisions and playing for the Big Ten championship. And no doubt about it, Ohio State's gonna end up going to the college football playoff once again. So, so that's really much all I can say on it. So, with that being said, Fletcher, your thoughts on our favorite division, the Big Ten?
The Big Ten has had a down year for about a few years now. but it looks like they finally got some legitimate boost and energy, especially in their conference. In the East Division right now, yeah, it is basically a two-horse race. It is basically you're looking at Ohio State and Michigan State right now. That they're just two class teams right now, and either one can make an argument that they can be in the playoff at the end, especially Ohio State, the reigning, defending national champions. A lot of people believe has already have them penciled in to repeat as champions. But I know there's a few teams out there that probably is going to disagree with that or might take umbrage with that, and we'll get into one of those teams in a little bit. As far as Michigan State goes, they are very dangerous, no doubt about it. I think they'll be definitely in there at the end. As it pertains to the West Division, it's basically I just don't see any other team than Wisconsin. I'm sorry. I'm not sold on Nebraska. I'm not. And I just think the Wisconsin is really just the class team of the division, and I think they'll easily get to the to the Big Ten championship game. Basically, they're just fighting. They're just waiting for the winner of either the Michigan State versus Ohio State, because I think either or is going to be facing Wisconsin for the title. It's just who's it going to be. We'll find out later in the season, but I truly believe that this is definitely going to be one of those games that I think is going to be a good conference, but it's not a deep conference. Like I said, there's only 3 good teams out there right now. I'm not sold on Michigan yet. I want to see what Jim Harbaugh brings to the table before I say yes or no. And right now, like I said, I think it's a 3-team race in that division. So with that said, let's move on.
All right. I was as I'm looking at Derek's sports blog, he didn't really talk about the American Conference, but we talked about it anyway. So that's all I'm going to say on that. So we're not going to get into all these other conferences. We did the ACC, we did the American, we did the Big 12, we did the Big 10. We don't really need to get into Conference USA or the MAC or Mountain West or any of that. We're only going to talk. I'm only going to go by the ones, or the Sun Belt for that matter. We're only going to go by the ones that Derek Ferrera did. He didn't really include the Americans. So, but you know what? We talked about it, so that kind of felt good. So I kind of felt we should have shown them some love. So, all right, we did the ACC, we did the Big 10, we did the Big 12. So, with that said, Notre Dame. Notre Dame is who we're going to get into next. Let me just ask you point blank, Bullock and Fletcher. Let me just ask you guys point blank. What do you guys think about what are your outlooks for Notre Dame this year? Honestly, Michael Bullock, you want to start?
To me, you know what? I think I should go last. I should let my 2 resident Notre Dame guys go first in talking about this. So I think I should let Fletch go first, then Florio, and then me. So since you guys are the big Notre Dame fans, if that's okay.
Well, I'll admit this. I'm not the biggest Notre Dame mark, but I'll take it for what it's worth. I have to say this. I'm not really sold on Notre Dame. I'm not. I'm sorry. I don't know why. I mean, year in and year out, we get the same thing. Oh, how Notre Dame's going to make this big run, or is Notre Dame for real and everything else. Well, if you really look at their schedule this year, and I mean, they got some tough games coming up right out of the gate. I mean, they don't, Texas is no slouch. Then they got to go up against Virginia. That game is going to be on the road. Then they got a home game against Georgia Tech. UMass, they got to play. Then they got Clemson. Good luck with that game because, already I don't think they're going to be Clemson. At least in my eyes, they're not going to be Clemson. Then they got to play Navy. That's normally a traditional rivalry game. We don't know how that's going to play out. They got to play USC at Notre Dame. I think they're going to beat USC this year. I don't know. I feel like Notre Dame's going to beat USC. Then you got Temple. That's an easy game. Then they got Pittsburgh. That's an easy game. Wake Forest. Yeah, maybe. Who knows? Then you got to play Boston College, and we all know Boston College. When Boston College and Notre Dame gets together, something kooky happens in that game. And Florio, you know what I'm talking about with Boston College, because there was a few times in the past where you were yelling bloody murder.
93, my friend, 93. Say no more.
Yeah. At the week after, you guys had the biggest win of the season, knocking off at then the number one team in the nation, defending. I believe they were the defending national champions, Florida State. Then you get your hearts ripped out and you basically got KO'd out of the national championship picture because of Boston College in '93.
Indeed.
And then I believe it happened again a few years later. Notre Dame was making this big run. Looked like they were definitely in control to at least. I think they were in line for a big bowl game. I think they were in the mix to possibly get into a BCS bowl. And then Boston College did Notre Dame in again and knocked them out. So you never know with Boston College what you bring. And then you got to play Stanford at Stanford, the last game of the season. I kind of feel like that's going to be a winnable game for Stanford. So, I mean, if you really look at it, I'm looking at maybe 3 losses for Notre Dame. 4 if you talk about USC, but I think they're going to beat USC. Because I'm not sold with USC for some odd reason. I'll get into that because we are going to talk about the Pac-12 a little bit later on. So we'll get into that. But to me right now, I would say I'm looking at maybe an 8-4, 9-3, but that's not going to be enough to get them into at least a playoff berth. Maybe a New Year's Day 6 bowl, possibly, but I'm not sold with that either, to say the very least. So, with that said, Anthony, you can go.
All right. Well, I'll say it like this. For Notre Dame, this season is going to mark the first time since all the way back in 1915, 100 years ago, that the Irish will not play a Big Ten conference team. It's pretty sad, isn't it? But as I'm looking at the schedule here, yeah. First game against the Texas Longhorns next Saturday. That's a primetime game. Usually when Notre Dame starts the season, it's usually the 3:30 spot. Not this time. It's going to be in prime time on NBC at Notre Dame Stadium. So I'm going to be doing some channel flipping next Saturday night between that game and the Alabama-Wisconsin game, which we're definitely going to get into next week, no doubt about it. But I kind of like our chances against Texas, to be honest with you. At Virginia, I think we could take Virginia. Georgia Tech, I'm a little iffy about Georgia Tech because, Georgia Tech's, I like what they're doing. UMass, I definitely like our chances there because UMass, rather meh team. Clemson, yeah, Fletch is absolutely right. There's no way they're going to beat Clemson, especially at Clemson. No way. Navy on October 10, that's going to be a tough one. USC, another primetime game on NBC at Notre Dame Stadium, October 17. We'll see how that goes. At Temple, I like our chances there. At Pittsburgh, definitely like their chances there. Wake Forest, come on. I definitely think they can beat Wake Forest at home. Michael Fletcher, you forgot to mention something about the Boston College game on November 21. Well, a couple things. First, it's going to be on the NBC Sports Network. That's also the night before Survivor Series, by the way, November 21. Primetime game at 7:30. It's the Holy War. It's the Shamrock Series. Notre Dame and Boston College, get this, guys, from Fenway Park. Hello? Fenway Park, gentlemen? That's where we're going to be. Notre Dame, Boston College, November 21, Fenway Park. Michael Fletcher, you were just there a couple weeks ago.
Holy smokes! Do you imagine the money they're probably asking for that game?
Right? Man, oh man. I hope one of those teams are ranked come November 21 because I really want to get into that game when we do that show. And then the season finale against Stanford, the Legends Trophy, the rivalry at Stanford Stadium. Yeah, that's probably going to be a loss, I'm sure. So as I look at it, I think they can beat Texas. At Virginia, I think they can win that too. Georgia Tech, like I said, I'm iffy on that one. Clemson, I like them there. UMass, I should say. UMass 3-1, 3-2. Little iffy on the Navy. USC. I think they can get 4 in a row with Temple, Pitt, Wake, and BC. I'm thinking maybe 8-4, 7-5, if I'm being honest with you. Who knows? Maybe they could go 9-3. I mean, they could do better. But last year, though, oh, what a bitter pill to swallow for me. I mean, they started off so great. They started off 7-0, and then that controversial finish against Florida State. They weren't the same after that. But they did rebound very nicely at the end, though, winning that bowl game against LSU. Not an easy game to win either, considering how damn good LSU is. So I'm looking at 8-4, 7-5. I'm hoping I'm wrong on that. I want to see 9-3, 10-2. Heck, I like to see 11-1. Hell, I want to see them go all the way, 12-0. But that's not going to happen. So that's pretty much all I can say on that. So definitely looking forward to some of those games, especially that one next week against Texas. So with that said, Michael Bullock, your outlook now on Notre Dame.
Yeah, it wasn't a good year for Notre Dame last year. I mean, they did get off to such a good start, and then for some reason, they just started to fall apart. And yeah, so this definitely is hoping to be a bounce back year. And I do agree, it could be a 8-4, maybe 7-5 record. I don't expect anything that much. When it comes to Notre Dame this season, because like you said, when it comes to some of the games they're going to be playing, this year. Of course, the toughest one is obviously going to be against Clemson. Yeah, good luck with that. And then of course, USC on October 17th. They could give Notre Dame a tough time. Same thing with Stanford for the final game of the season. And yeah, some people say Boston College, that could be a winnable game, but who knows? That could be a tough one, especially since Boston College and Notre Dame are going to be playing at Fenway Park this season. That's definitely going to be something worth watching. But yeah, so we'll have to wait and see how they do. So I do see an 8-4 record for them. So yeah. So with that being said, Florian, let's move on to our next major conference.
All right. As we continue on our college football preview here, a little more to go before we get into Michael Fletch's experiences from Fenway Park from a couple weeks ago. Just bear with me here. Okay. Okay. And Michael Fletcher just alluded to it. We're gonna talk about I believe we're talking about the Pac-12 next, according to Derek's blog. I'm going by Derek's blog, by the way. Like I said, it didn't include the American. I thought it did, but it didn't. So, all right, Pac-12 now. This is how it's going to be. So, and by the way, Derek Ferreira says he's got Notre Dame in the New Year's Six Bowl against Boise State in the Fiesta Bowl. Huh. Can you imagine that if it's Notre Dame and Boise? Oh, my goodness. I'm going to be torn, totally. But, all right, let's talk about the Pac-12 here. Since Bullock deferred to Michael Fletcher for Notre Dame, I'm going to start on this one. Pac-12 is going to be a very tough conference, to say the very least. I mean, that's really a conference that can go either way. It really can. So, as I go into the Pac-12, my Pac-12 notes here, the race for the conference should be tight with a number of teams with a legitimate shot at winning the conference. Oregon is a machine at this point, but they have some uncertainty at the quarterback position, obviously because of Marcus Mariota now going to Tennessee in the NFL. USC had some disappointing losses last year, but had plenty of talent and an excellent quarterback in Cody Kessler. UCLA has a lot of talent and experience on both sides of the ball, but can talented freshman Josh Rosen fill the void at quarterback? Stanford looks good on defense as always, but can Kevin Hogan stay healthy? Arizona State should be exciting on offense, but is the defense deep enough? And can Arizona step it up defensively? As I think about it, I think you're going to see USC and Oregon in the championship game at Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara, home of course, WrestleMania 31, which was absolutely amazing this year. So I got Oregon and USC battling it out for the Pac-12 championship. Although watch out for Stanford, UCLA, Arizona State, and Arizona. Those are some dark horses there. But I think ultimately Oregon and USC, and I'm going to surprise some people here. I think USC can win the Pac-12 this year. I really do. I mean, they had some moments last year, but, considering that Oregon, if Mariota was still there, then hands down Oregon wins. But he's not there anymore. And then I don't even know who their quarterback is this time around. So I know I'm surprising a lot of people here, but I got USC defeating Oregon in the Pac-12 title game at Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara. My story, I'm sticking to it. If I'm wrong, hey, I'm wrong. But don't worry, we'll get more into that, as the season progresses. So with that said, Michael Bullock, how do you follow that?
Yeah, when it comes to the Pac-12, like you said, of course, Oregon, runners-up in the college football playoff national championship game. Of course, losing it big time in that game. So yeah, I think Oregon's definitely going to be a team to be reckoned with in the North Division. But yeah, and of course you got Roger Freeman, one of the key guys on that offense, so definitely he could definitely be in one of the guys that could definitely play a role in what happens with Oregon. But Stanford is a team you definitely got to keep an eye on in that North Division because it's going to be interesting to see how Kevin Hogan plays. If he plays well, and I think this team could challenge Oregon. But either way, I still got Oregon winning that division. Now, when it comes to the South, of course, you got USC. Of course, you got Cody Kessler. It's going to be interesting to see how he does for them this season. And I think he could have a good season. Who knows? Maybe he could be a contender for the Heisman Trophy. But definitely, we're gonna have to wait and see how it all plays out. But either way, I got Oregon and USC winning their divisions, and of course, I would have as far as who wins the conference championship. If those two end up facing each other, I gotta go with Oregon. I mean, I can't simply go against them because they're definitely and who knows, they could be another team that could end up winning that could end up in that college football playoff. Will that happen? We're gonna have to wait and see. So Oregon and USC win their respective divisions. So with that being said, Fletcher, I give it to you.
I agree with you guys. It's Oregon's and USC's, but I will say this: keep an eye on the North Division because you got Stanford there, no doubt about it, and they definitely could make some noise. But when it comes to the South Division, you know what? I gotta say, keep a close eye on the crosstown rivals of USC, UCLA. I mean, they definitely could do something. Arizona State and Arizona. They actually were ranked in the top 25 this year as well. Arizona State 15 and Arizona 22 respectively. So we'll wait and see what happens there. But I agree with you guys. I think it's going to be Oregon and USC at the end. Like I said, even though I'm not sold completely on SC, I think they're going to be decent enough because of their schedule makes it a little easier for them so that they could they would be able to navigate through the pitfalls of some of the tougher games. But I do believe at the end Oregon will win the conference and make Eric Carrier one very happy Oregon Duck. Let's say that. So let's move on, gentlemen.
Yeah, move on indeed. I can't think of a better way to move on than to the main event of the college football preview. The best conference out there, boys. You know what that is. The SEC. Yes. The SEC is the main event of our college football preview. I mean, I don't know what else there is to say here except Michael Bullock, you lucky man. You get to lead it off. What do you think? What do we think about the best conference in all of college football out there?
This is definitely the best conference in college football, without a shadow of a doubt. And of course, who's the king of the crop when it comes to the SEC? Of course, we all know who it is. It's the Alabama Crimson Tide when it comes to that. Of course, Alabama, we always know when it comes to them. I mean, they don't rebuild, they just reload. I mean, especially when they're under Nick Saban. So they could definitely be another team that could contend for that college football playoff, and I think they could do and I think they could be in that conversation. As when it comes to Alabama, of course, they have to replace. They've always been recruiting a lot of good talent, and of course the guy to keep an eye on for the offensive side is Derrick Henry. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with him. He could play a huge role, and the thing is, they don't have a number one quarterback. Jake Coker could be the leading candidate, but so we're gonna have to wait and see how the quarterback position is. But of course the strength has always been their defense, so I think that defense is definitely going to play a huge role in that. But of course the team to look out for in that division is of course the Auburn Tigers. Definitely. And of course they don't have Nick Marshall anymore. They have a new quarterback, of course, in Jeremy Johnson, but of course the defense has been the problem for them, and of course they're going to have a new defensive coordinator, and that is Will Muschamp, the former coach of the Florida Gators. And of course, you know what that means when it comes to Will Muschamp. If his defense is struggling, you're going to see that Will Muschamp expression. And of course, when it comes, Alabama will win the West Division. That's how I see it. But of course, you also got to keep an eye out for Auburn. Who knows? Maybe Ole Miss could play a run in it, but could play a huge role in what happens. But I got Alabama winning that division, no doubt about it. And when it comes to the East Division, I gotta go with Georgia, because I just don't see how Tennessee, Florida, or any of the other teams in that division can basically catch up to what Georgia does. So with that being said, I got Georgia and Alabama winning their respective divisions. So with that being said, Fletcher, who you got representing winning the respective divisions in the SEC, the Power Conference?
Well, actually, I actually had some breaking news, and I just wanted it to unleash it on you, gentlemen. Actually, in the world of the UFC and MMA, Dana White has just announced that the Holly Holm versus Ronda Rousey fight has actually just been moved up. So it's now actually going to be held in Melbourne, Australia on Saturday night, November 14th. It actually is going to coincide with Robbie Lawler versus Carlos Condit, and now they've made that as a double main event with Ronda Rousey and Holly Holm now as the main event of that fight. So that just broke. Derek Ferreira just confirmed that a short time ago, and I just wanted to give it to you great fans out there. The breaking news is just broke just now. Ronda Rousey fight was initially set for January 2nd, 2016, has now been moved up to now she's going to fight on Saturday, November 14th, and she's going to put her UFC Women's Bantamweight Championship on the line against against challenger Holly Holm, and now the fight has been moved. It was originally going to be in Las Vegas, Nevada. Now it's going to be at the Intrepid Arena or the Intrepid Stadium in Melbourne, Australia. So that's just broke now. So now back into the SEC, the greatest conference in all of the land. I think a lot of people will agree with that. As far as the SEC East goes, I gotta go with Georgia. I don't know. I think made in Georgia, Georgia made. I think they definitely are going to be the threat, no doubt about it. I just don't see any other team making a big noise or big big stink. I think South Carolina might make a little run because they got the old ball coach, to say the very least, in Steve Spurrier. I think they could make a little bit of some noise there, but not enough. Florida, maybe, but I'm not really convinced with them. I think Georgia will definitely be the team to beat, especially in the East. In the West, though, man, I mean, yeah, I agree. I think Alabama should win it, but don't sleep on Auburn, guys. I think Auburn is definitely right there. They're going to be right in the mix. I know Lindsey McCormick is probably going to love me for saying that. But two other teams I want you guys to keep a close eye on. LSU, actually three. LSU, Mississippi State, and one of the dark horses and maybe a darling that could actually sneak up and really make some legitimate noise in this conference. And I'm going to say it, Alex Sorrell's Arkansas Razorbacks. I got to say it. I think they're going to make at least a little noise. I don't believe they're going to win the conference or the division, but they're going to be right in the thick of things. I think, and think about it last year, Arkansas played some great games. They had some great battles, but the thing was they just couldn't put the hammer down. They were close in a few games where maybe they should have won, but they just collapsed towards the end. If they could wrangle that in and play the full 60 minutes and actually get a few wins here and there, who knows? Arkansas could really surprise a few people when it's all said and done. But I do believe it's going to be Alabama and Georgia at the end playing for the SEC title, and then we'll just go from there. So with that said, Anthony, I give it to you.
All right, I forgot to note who's in the Pac-12 conference. For those who may not know, Oregon, Stanford, California, Washington State, Oregon State, USC, UCLA, Arizona State, Arizona, Utah, and Colorado. So I just wanted to get that out of there. Before I get into the SEC, all I can say about that big announcement from Derek Ferreira there is, wow. November 14th, man, we'll have to keep an eye out for what big games are going to be on that night. See if that's going to be a loaded night. Probably will be. I know October 3rd will be because of that special WWE event that's going to be at Madison Square Garden, which is actually going to be broadcast on the network featuring Brock Lesnar. I told Michael Bullock this the other night. Notre Dame against Clemson could obviously coincide with that, but we'll have to wait and see once the times are determined for those games.
And they just announced that the Dudley Boys is now just been added to that Madison Square Garden show on October 3rd.
Yes, indeed.
Yes.
Indeed they are, Michael Fletcher. Absolutely. So, okay. For those who may not know about the SEC, where are you? Of course, you have Georgia, Missouri, Tennessee, Florida, South Carolina, Kentucky, Vanderbilt, Auburn, Alabama, Ole Miss, Arkansas, LSU, Mississippi State, and Texas A&M. So that's how it is. So final conference to talk, and it is the main event of college football, the SEC. We all know it's going to be deep this year, mainly in the West, because it's by far the deepest part of the division. Of course, the two teams, when you think about the West, you have to think about Auburn and Alabama, obviously. Malzahn and Saban, the record is 1-1. 2013, Chris Davis. We all remember Chris Davis. We all remember that. Vern Lundquist. We all remember that moment. One of the greatest calls of all time. When Auburn made that magical run to the national championship game, only to get their hearts ripped out by Florida State in the Rose Bowl. And then last year, let's just say, in the immortal words of Bon Jovi, Michael Fletcher, you know where I'm going with this. It was one wild night. That's all there was to it. One wild night in Tuscaloosa, where Alabama knocked off Auburn in a very high-scoring, maybe the highest-scoring Fiesta Bowl of all time. 55-45 was the final in that one, as I recall. So, yeah. We'll have to wait and see what happens when those two go at it. But I love Linz. Everybody knows I love Lindsey McCormick, and I love Auburn. I really do. But as long as Nick Saban is around in Alabama, I'm sorry, I have to go with Alabama. And I really don't know who will be in that champ. I think it's going to be against the maiden Georgia Bulldogs. So that's really all I can say on that. So yeah, give me Alabama and Georgia. And when it comes to the SEC. Now, let me say it like this. When it comes to Auburn, the X factor in that matchup is, of course, Will Muschamp. Everybody knows that. Derek Ferrera, we all know how much Derek Ferrera loves his facial expressions, and they became a major part of our show. They're going to be much better after struggling the second half last year. They got the defense and an upgrade on offense. So, and in the SEC East, Georgia should be a pretty decent team. Missouri is always a contender. Tennessee could be relevant again. Think about that. But I think they're a year or two away from being major contenders in that part of the division. So, so to me, I think Alabama is going to go up against Georgia in that championship game. Although I do say watch out for Auburn. That's all I can say on that. So, Alabama and Georgia, and I think Alabama comes out of the SEC. So, so that's all I can say on that. Now, let me just ask this quick question, guys. National championship. Who do you got winning it? You already know who I have. I've got the Ohio State Buckeyes winning it back-to-back. So, with that said, Michael Bullock, national championship. Who wins it and why?
I got Ohio State winning it as well. I mean, they're just too good. I mean, on defense, on offense. I mean, they're just loaded. I mean, how can you go against Ohio State? I mean, with the team they got. I mean, you got two quarterbacks who they could throw in there with either Barrett or Cardale Jones. You got Ezekiel Elliott. And then of course on defense you got Joey Bosa. So yeah, so it's tough to go against Ohio State. So I got to go with Ohio State to win it all. So Fletcher, who you got winning it all?
Well, I gotta agree. I think right now the way that this thing is turning out, I think a lot of people can agree that right now it's wide open, and the only team that really does have a legitimate case is Ohio State. However, I'll say this: if they somehow get tripped up with their schedule, it's going to open a lot of doors for a lot of teams. But right now, I truly believe that, Ohio State is, without a doubt, the class of the NCAA college football right now. And I would not be shocked when this is all said and done in Glendale, Arizona, because that's where the championship game will be this year, in Glendale, Arizona, that we see Ohio State picking up that weird-looking trophy once again as the national champions of college football. We'll wait and see what happens. Let's move on, gentlemen.
Before we do, of course, you already know I have Ohio State winning it all. I'm just looking at November 14th and what could be some possible match. What could be the big games come that big night where Rousey and Holm will fight. Georgia versus Auburn, obviously, there's one big one. Arkansas against LSU is another one. Oklahoma against Baylor. Watch out for that one. Oregon against Stanford. Yeah. So definitely, if there are some decent headliners on Saturday, November 14th. So can't get here fast enough. Of course, that's going to be a big night, to say the very least. So, all right. So with that said, now we're going to move on to the first of our two.
And actually, Anthony, I didn't want to interrupt you, but just to give you guys the heads up, because I know some people are going to want to know, well, wait a minute, what are the actual bowls that are going to do it? So one national semifinal game is going to be in the Orange Bowl in Miami. The other national semifinal game is going to be played in the Cotton Bowl, which is the Cowboys Stadium in Arlington, Texas, and that's going to be on New Year's Eve. Not New Year's Day, New Year's Eve this time around. And then the national championship game is Monday night, January 11, 2016, Glendale, Arizona, at the University of Phoenix Stadium. So once again, Glendale gets another big event. They had the Super Bowl last year. This upcoming January, they get the NCAA national title game.
Okay, so that's good information to know. We'll definitely get into that, when the time comes. So, all right, now, without further ado, it's the first of our two Strictly Sports exclusives, and this first one comes courtesy of one Michael Fletcher. Back about 2 weeks ago, on August the 16th, Michael Fletcher and our good friend Kaiser Marie Butler went up to Fenway Park to see the Boston Red Sox go up against the Seattle Mariners. So, without any further ado, Michael Fletcher, the floor is all yours.
All right, guys. Normally I don't really talk. I don't really want to get into full details about a lot of the things, but it was actually a thrilling experience as always. It was a great game, no doubt about it. If you guys saw it on TV, on NESN, or if you guys have MLB.TV, or through your service provider or whatnot, I mean, you guys saw a thrilling game. It was absolutely exciting, to say the very least. It had, for the most part, it was definitely pretty quiet, early in the game, because if you notice, Seattle jumped out to a humongous lead. It was like 7-0 at one point. The Red Sox basically got catapulted right at the very beginning. Basically, Robinson Cano actually hit a 2-run home run, and the one crazy story about that was that it actually almost landed right in front of us. I mean, we were dangerously close from where the ball landed. We were about 12 rows from where the bullpens were, and where it actually ricocheted off the partition and then shot out, went off a few people's hands. And I will be very honest, if it would have ricocheted a little bit to the left, it would have landed right into my glove. If it would have ricocheted a little more center way, Kaiser was going to make a play on the baseball. But unfortunately, it actually ricocheted out to the right, went under the tunnel, and we both missed out on it. I think she was more upset than I was about the ball, because it was a Robinson Cano home run ball. Then the next thing you know, we had back-to-back home runs as the as the next batter, which was Gutierrez for Seattle. He deposited it deep into center, and that was that. So Seattle and Boston was actually it was turning into a I'll even say it was turning into somewhat of a dud more than anything else. But then they did make a little bit of a comeback. It started to get a little interesting in their game. Like the game started getting a little more interesting, especially after Boston got a couple of runs back. Especially later in the game, they got like in the fourth, they got like 2 runs, and then in the fifth, they got a couple of runs, a run back, and then Seattle got 1 run again, and you kind of were thinking, okay, this could go either way. You don't know how this was going to play out, but the next thing you know, Boston absolutely makes a late charge in the 9th inning. Well, first off, let me just go into one thing. On that day, they were honoring the people of Vermont. Normally, what the Boston Red Sox do is that each, maybe during the season, there's always a Rhode Island day, there's a Massachusetts day, there's a Vermont day, there's a New Hampshire day to honor the surrounding areas in New England. There's a Connecticut day even. So on that day, this was to honor Vermont, so they had Miss Vermont down there. Oh, what a beautiful baby girl she was, man. Brunette beauty. That's all I can say. I don't remember her name though. I kind of forgot the name. I'm sorry about that, gentlemen. But they had that. They had a local Vermont band doing the national anthem. They did a good job. I'll admit that. And then you had God Bless America by another Vermont group, and I think Kaiser recorded it and posted it on her Facebook. So if you do get a chance, go on her site. Well, actually, no, you can't. She deactivated it. I'm sorry. And then in the 8th inning, they did Sweet Caroline, which was freaking awesome. I posted a video on it. I hope it's still up there. I don't know if it is or not. That was an amazing game. And then the 9th inning, bottom of the 9th, they were 2 runs down. They needed to they were down 8-6, bottom of the 9th, and the crowd got into it. They started playing Dropkick Murphys, shipping out to Boston, and the place you could feel it. It felt like a playoff type atmosphere. They got basically a couple of runners on, a big base hit. They got the tying run home. Here comes Ortiz lumbering around, coming, play at the plate, gun down at the plate. That would have been a walk-off winner. Unfortunately, it wasn't. It takes us into extra innings, and it was awesome. Bonus baseball in Fenway Park. Nothing in the 10th, nothing in the 11th. Bases loaded, 2 runs scored for Seattle, and then they slammed the door on Boston in the 12th. I mean, it was an unbelievable game, to say the very least. I mean, it was thrilling, man. It was a 4-hour and 24-minute marathon. That's all you got to say about that. Just the atmosphere, the game itself was amazing, to say the very least. I had so much fun going to Boston. You know what? I'll tell you this, man. The Bleacher Creatures are serious hardcore fans, man. I mean, we were hanging out near the right center field, and I got to chill with a couple of people. Some guys actually came down from all the way from Missouri, and we were chatting about the game and everything else, and they were really cool people, man. I mean, there was a couple of beautiful baby girls we got to chat with, and then there was some big husky dudes that we were chilling with. They were offering us beers and whatnot. Like, nah, we're good. But they were cool, man. They were cool as heck. A couple of guys were like, "Yo, you better get your glove ready just in case." Especially if the ball gets flying. I was like, "Dude, we almost got the Robinson Cano one earlier in the game." So we definitely were licking our chops, hoping another one was going to come our way. Unfortunately, it did not. But I mean, the game itself was absolutely amazing. Kaiser, like I said, she's a big-time fan of Robinson Cano. She was absolutely thrilled with what he did. I mean, he was killing the Red Sox that day. I mean, he was 5 for 7 with 3 RBIs in that game. And then one of her other players that she loves is Xavier Bogaerts, and Bogaerts actually hit a home run, and actually it didn't even land in the Green Monster. It went over the Green Monster. I mean, it went out of the park. I mean, he launched it. So I mean, I remember saying, "Oh man, look out, Green Monster!" And I remember doing the iconic, and I know Flurry, you're gonna like this, the iconic "Goodbye home run, Xavier Bogaerts" type commentary. So I didn't really want to do actual commentary there, but we had a lot of fun with it. It was really awesome to see it. To say the very least, it was a great game. And we're already plotting our next move. I actually can confirm right now that me and Kaiser Butler are actually planning on a Chicago Bulls versus Boston Celtics for December 9 trip to TD Garden. We're basically working around trying to etch that in stone, at least in the way of getting tickets, but we did kind of agreed that was going to be our next event that we wanted to go to. So keep your eyes peeled, guys. TD Garden, look out, because me and the First Lady of Strictly Sports might be heading your way on December 9th. So we'll keep you posted once that becomes official. But other than that, that's it, guys. So if you guys have any questions, feel free, fire away.
Did you get good seats?
I was actually 12 rows from the field. Where I was in bleacher 41, which is pretty much right between where the bullpens were, and we were basically 12 rows from the field. So yeah, they are very good seats, to say the very least.
And what was it like first walking in and just seeing like the legendary Green Monster staring right at you?
I think you're in awe. You're absolutely in awe, because it's one of the cathedrals of baseball. I mean, you literally had to pinch yourself, and seeing the field, feeling the excitement. It's, I've had that excitement once before when I went about 10 years ago, Michael Bullock, but this time around it's something to behold, and you had to be there to see it, and it was unbelievable. It was without a doubt probably one of the more exciting moments, at least for me, to be there. And I don't know, I would love to get Kaiser here on the show in the near future so that she could talk about her experience personally, or maybe what I'll do a special Mikey's Mindset, record a video with her, and then we can talk about it then. But no, I mean, this was just to see it is a thrilling moment. It's exciting, and I could not. I was so excited. I was so thrilled and happy to be at Fenway Park. It's awesome. It's without a doubt a great thrill, and I hope everybody out there go to a baseball game once in your lifetime. I've been fortunate enough to go to 2 in my lifetime. Well, actually 3 in my lifetime, because I actually have even gone to the legendary Yankee Stadium in the Bronx.
97.
Back in 1997. So, but I was even talking to my father recently, and that there's even something in the works about possibly going to the new Yankee Stadium in the very near future. So, I mean, there's definitely a lot to behold, and I cannot wait one of these years to go to those stadiums. So, yeah, I'm thrilled. Without a doubt. So yeah, it was a great game.
Yeah, it sounded like it was to me too. I mean,
Yeah, it did sound like a lot of fun.
I mean, it was exciting. I mean, like I said, the Bleacher Creatures were, I mean, you want to talk about ruthless. I mean, poor Nelson Cruz absolutely got ripped to shreds by the Bleacher Creatures, man. I mean, but I will say this, it wasn't vulgar, it wasn't, X-rated, it wasn't NC-17, but I will say they were more in the realm of PG-13. I'll say that TV-14, PG-13 type realm. But yeah, they were pretty hard on Nelson Cruz. But it was enjoyable to say the very least.
yeah, yeah, definitely sounds like it. No doubt about it. So, I've been a fan with myself. I mean, 4 years. I tell you what, 4 years ago, I went there for my birthday. So see the Yanks in the Sox. So that's all there is to say, man. So yeah, um, so yeah, it's definitely an awe-inspiring moment, to say the very least. So all right, we're gonna move on now to, of course, the other big Shipley Sports exclusive. Well, there was going to be three, but Derek didn't make it. So of course, for me, this past Tuesday night, I went to the SmackDown tapings at the Dunkin' Donuts Center here in Providence, and I posted some videos that my brother's friend Calvin sent me. I asked him to send me those via the email. He did just that, and yeah, so I shared those earlier. So they're all up and running. A couple of them were waiting for the show to start, but the other two, I'll tell you what, two of the best entrances out there. I mean, Finn Balor and the Wyatt family. I mean, with the Fireflies and everything else. So just simply amazing. So all right, I'll just say it like this. I mean, it was the main event taping, and first match of the night. It was the primetime players going up against Los Matadores, and the primetime players won the match. Darren Young wins it with the Gutbuster. I'll say it like this. I mean, it was a 2.25 to 2.5 star match. It was a really good match, and a solid match, solid action throughout for what it was. So I was very pleased with how that match turned out. I wasn't really expecting anything, but it is what it is. So it was a solid match, a nice bounce back win for the PTP after that tough loss, losing the tag titles at SummerSlam on Sunday night. Next match, it was the Real American Jack Swagger going up against what he's now calling himself the Party Pooper, Adam Rose. Yeah, Swagger won it with the Patriot Lock. Yeah, it was an absolute dud. It was the worst fight of the entire night. I mean, yeah, nothing good came out of that at all. I'm not even going to waste any more time on that. Stardust went up against Fandango. I'm going to surprise a lot of people here. This was the sleeper fight of the night. I got to tell you, I mean, it was a solid 3-star match. No, I'm not lying here. It was actually a much better match than I initially expected. I thought it was going to be a 1 to 2 star fight, but I tell you what, I mean, we were very impressed. I mean, it was a very good match. I mean, a much better match than I initially expected. I mean, some nice moves, some nice close back and forth near falls. I'm not going to go as far as to say, oh, Shakespearean drama at its finest. No, I'm not going to go that far, but I was pleasantly surprised with that match. That to me was my sleeper fight of the night. Really, really was. So Stardust went over thanks to the Queen's Crossbow there, so formerly the Crossroads. So that's how he won it. So pleasantly surprised with that. Then after that, we had like I said, we also had the first round of the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. You had the Lucha Dragons. Yes, the Lucha Champs were very over. I will be honest with you. Sin Cara and Kalisto going up against this very surprising tag team. I was not expecting to see these two guys team up. Samoan Submission Machine, Samoa Joe, and the NXT champion Finn Balor. Yeah. Oh my goodness. That was another Samoa Joe and Finn Balor. They won the match. It was a combination here. It was a combo platter. Samoa Joe started it with the Muscle Buster, and then Finn Balor followed that with the coup de grace, and that was it. So another solid 3-star fight. Very good match, and some nice action throughout, and I got to see it, fellas. I got to see what many are calling maybe the best entrance in all of professional wrestling today, the Finn Balor entrance. Yes, I got the video of it. I posted it earlier. It's up there, so check it out. I mean, awe-inspiring. Maybe not as good as what Derek Ferrera got to see in Brooklyn, but man, oh man alive, I mean, the Finn Balor entrance just simply amazing. It's just a sight to see live. And then one other match, Zack Ryder went up against some Hammernager, Jabroni, Jobber. I mean, it was all right for what it was. It wasn't a dud or anything. It was only a one-star fight, so not even going to waste any time on that. But three very good matches. I mean, PTP and the Los Matadores, Stardust and Fandango surprised the hell out of me. I was not expecting anything good. I thought that thing was going to suck, but man, pleasantly surprised with that fight. And then, of course, the Dusty Classic match with the Luchas and Joe and Balor. I mean, that was just simply amazing. So, all right, now on to the SmackDown portion of the event. Started off with a promo, the Wyatt family. Let me just say it like this. The Fireflies entrance. I got to see that too. Fletch, 4 months ago, back in April, you got to see it. And I know you were in awe. I know the feeling. I know the feeling. Just simply amazing. That's all I can say on that. That to me was the second best segment of the night. I mean, Luke Harper started with it, and then he handed it off to Bray Wyatt, and then of course it was interrupted by Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose, and definitely a good segment there, a solid segment, second best of the night. Then we had the Ascension, Connor and Victor. They had the unenviable task of having to face the returning Dudley Boys. Let me just tell you, fellas, massive pop from the crowd. I mean, they were so excited to see the Dudleys. I mean, the pyro is just absolutely it's a Kickstarter. It kickstarts the heart there. Let me tell you right there. It really does a number on your heartstrings there, boys. Let me tell you. And Bubba and Devon got a massive ovation, rightly so. And it was a 1.5 to 2 star fight. Of course, we already know who went over. It was the Dudleys. Dudleys win it with a 3D. And then the New Day show up with these ridiculous and funny signs. And then shortly after that, Bubba power bombs Victor through the table. Massive pop, like I said. And it's obvious they're heading towards a Dudley's New Day feud for the tag belts. So that's all I can say on that. Then we had the man that gravity forgot, Adrian Neville, going up against Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens won the match with a pop-up powerbomb. Solid 2-star fight. I mean, it was way too short for my liking, but it was a very good match for what it was. I mean, I was honestly expecting a lot better. Even though it was a fine match, it was a little bit of a letdown, if I'm being honest. I mean, I was really expecting this to be a possible fight of the night, maybe like a 3.5 to 4, based on that match they had on Raw a couple of months ago during the Kevin Owens NXT Open Challenge. So, but nonetheless, Owens won it with a pop-up powerbomb. Very good match. So, and then we had the Divas match. It was Charlotte and Becky Lynch up against the Bella Twins. Charlotte and Becky Lynch, the winners. Charlotte won it with the Charlotte's Web, as I was informed. 2 to 2.25 stars. I know I put 2 to 2.5, but I'm gonna change that to 2 to 2.25 after I watched it back on TV last night. Still a solid match, to say the very least. I know a lot of people have been crapping all over the Diva Revolution. I know it's starting to get some heat now as of late. So yeah. But I thought it was a fine match for what it was, really. So, and then we had Seth Rollins. He came out with a promo. This to me was the segment of the night. I mean, I know a lot of people don't like his smarky heel promos. Mr. Bullock and I usually, crap all over his smarky heel promos. But I gotta say, this is one of his best. I mean, basically, responding to what Sting did to him on Raw Monday night. I mean, I'll tell you what, the heat. I mean, nobody drew more heel heat than he did. I mean, far and away, he had the most heat. There's no question about that. I mean, they were literally crapping all over him. That's all there is to say on that. So, but nonetheless, though, that to me was a highlight of the night. That was the segment of the night. A very good promo by Seth Rollins, and the excitement level of the match with Sting coming up. Of course, you know it's going to be him and Sting at the Night of Champions for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, and I know we'll have more on that come Monday night on the Wrestling Forum. So stay tuned for that. Then we had tag team action. It was the Intercontinental Heavyweight Champion Ryback and Dolph Ziggler with the beautiful Lana going up against Rusev and the Big Show with another beauty, Summer Rae. 2.5-star match, very good match, good action throughout. Rusev, of course, he basically was bullying the Big Show pretty much all match long, and Rusev locked in the accolade on Ziggler. It looked like Big Show and Rusev were going to win, but just out of nowhere, Big Show comes in and lays out Rusev with a WMD, and it got a massive pop from the crowd. The crowd absolutely loved it, including us. And it looks like the Big Show looks like he's turned face again, guys. Looks like it. So it looks like we have another Big Show turn. What is this? Like the 11 billionth time he's turned in the last 10 years or so. So that's all there is to that. And then of course the main event of the evening, the Celtic Warrior and Mr. Money in the Bank Sheamus going up against the Lunatic Fringe, Dean Ambrose. Another solid 2.5-star fight. This is my other co-fight of the night here. I mean, there was some good action throughout. Sheamus won it with the bro kick. Well, I forgot to mention when Big Show for Ziggler and Ryback, Ziggler laid on top of Rusev, pretty much covered Rusev after Big Show knocked him out. So that's how that fight ended. This one here ended with a bro kick by Sheamus after a distraction by the Wyatt family, as Dean Ambrose was in. Looks like Dean Ambrose was on his way to a win. So, and then after the fight, Roman Reigns shows up, Superman punch on Luke Harper. Awesome to see in person. I can't believe I got to see a Superman in person. I marked, needless to say. And then Roman made the big mistake. He went toe to toe with Braun Strowman, and Strowman. Let me tell you, the man is a freak in person. Let me just say that right now. Strowman in person is a freak. That's all I can say. And then he lays out Roman again, and that's where the taping ended. Now, after the taping ended, they did their little dark segment, and it was Dean Ambrose getting on the mic and basically calling out the Wyatt family and said, "Get your ass back out here. We're not done yet." And then out of nowhere, Seth Rollins comes out and lays out Dean Ambrose, and then Rollins gets on the mic and gets some more heel heat, but then shortly after, Ambrose got to him and laid him out with the dirty deeds, and then Ambrose held up both belts, and and then Ambrose pretty much stuck around for a little bit after the show, hanging with some fans down in the front row there. So, so that's pretty much it. So, just an all-around incredible experience. I mean, first time I've ever been to a TV taping live, and it was a sight to see. And the boys and I, we definitely agree that we're going to do it again. Of course, next time they're going to be in Providence. It'll be on Tuesday night, December the 29th. Unfortunately, it's going to be a house show this time around. It's going to be a live event as part of their holiday tour. I know you're thinking, why is it not a SmackDown taping? Well, they're going to be taping SmackDown left and right in the month of December, to coincide with the holidays. So that's pretty much all there is to say on that. So, and of course I posted the videos online, on my Facebook anyways. So now there's nothing left for me to say except, fellas, are there any questions that you care to ask about this?
I guess the one question I would have is, where were you? Like, how far were you? Because it looks like you were pretty far from the ring. Did you actually get a good view of all the action?
Oh yeah, definitely. We were in section 238. Section 238, seats 1 through 4. That's where we were. And you know what? I'll tell you what. I mean, you had that jumbotron, you had that Titantron there, and then you also had the ring itself. But we actually had some decent seats there, so it wasn't too bad at all. So we definitely, it was definitely a good view from where we were, and I take it you saw the videos. So yeah, definitely some good seats, and we'll see what happens if we end up going back there again in 4 months. So, Mr. Bullock, I see you have your mic off. You have a question?
Yeah. What was that like being part of the I mean, getting to see that Wyatt family entrance, especially with all the fireflies.
I tell you, man, it was a sight to see. I mean, wow. I mean, just it looks a lot different when you're live there. I mean, when you saw it on TV, I mean, I watched it back on TV last night, and I mean, I mean, you see how it looks on TV. I mean, TV's one thing, but seeing it live, I mean, it's a lot different. But nonetheless, it was still a sight to see, and we were definitely in awe. And I couldn't think of a better way to start off the SmackDown taping than with those guys, coming out and cutting a promo. So yeah, I mean, very good, to say the very least. I mean, now I know how Michael Fletcher feels. Because remember, Fletcher went there back in April. I mean, he got to see that thing up close and personal. So yeah, I know the feeling now, Fletch. I get why you were going nuts over that. So yeah.
And I was also wondering, did the Dudleys do the, or did Bubba already do the get the table?
Of course, he sure did. I mean, 1, 2, 3, get the table, Devon. Yes, he certainly did, and he got it out, and yeah, that's all there is to it.
I'm pretty sure you shouted that out when they did that.
Oh yeah, we certainly did, and then yeah, I'll tell you what. I mean, you read SmackDown spoilers nowadays, and they talk about who had the most heat and who had the biggest pops. Well, when it comes to the pop side of things, far and away, nobody had more pops. The biggest pops were far and away Dean Ambrose and the Dudley Boys. That's all I can say on that. Ambrose and those damn Dudleys. They were far and away the biggest pop. As far as the heat goes, obviously it's Seth Rollins. I can honestly make a case for the Wyatt family. And I'll also even throw in Sheamus. I mean, I'll tell you what, there were definitely the "You Look Stupid" chants. I'll say that. The "You Look."
Oh, I was wondering that if they did.
Oh
that.
yes, they did it. They did the "You Look Stupid" chants, and they edited it. They edited this out of the broadcast. You didn't get to see it on the broadcast, but we did. During the match, Sheamus grabbed the live mic and said, "You look stupid. You look stupid." Yeah, he basically went on a rebuttal there. So yeah, definitely. It was all around a great experience. I mean, I'll tell you what. I mean, it may not have been as unbelievable as those 3 shows in Brooklyn, the NXT TakeOver, SummerSlam, and Monday Night Raw, but it was still a solid night of action. Nothing dragged. I mean, it went by pretty quick. So yeah, we definitely enjoyed ourselves. It was a great time, and we're definitely going to do it again. So yeah, I'm very, very glad we got to do that. So all right. If there are no more questions, gentlemen, we're going to move on to our main event of the evening. For the final time this season, it will be our Major League Baseball Power Rankings. So I know Michael Bullock's not ready, so I'm just going to refrain from him. So I don't know if Michael Fletch is ready. If he is, we'll start.
I'm good to go. Yeah, I'll start it.
Who you got?
I'll start it. My number 10 this week, guys. Well, a team that has definitely been on the outside looking in. I gotta say it. They're 5-5, especially with the win that they got tonight over my Atlanta Braves. Like that's gonna really set me off now. But anyway, my number 10, I gotta start it off with the New York Yankees. I gotta say they're right now in the thick of it with the Toronto Blue Jays in the divisional lead. They're 1.5 games out. Toronto did win, and actually, oh, by the way, spoiler alert, Toronto is actually in my top 5. Actually, I could even go as far to say maybe even in my top 3, to say the very least, but we'll get into that when we get there. As far as the New York Yankees goes, like I said, they've been 5-5 in the last 10 games, and just one moment. And, with the big win over the Atlanta Braves tonight, and actually it wasn't even close, it was a 15-4 beatdown, but Atlanta has definitely been one of the dud teams right now in baseball, which really upsets me about that, but I'll rant about that on another day. Basically, what the Yankees have done since we've last done the power rankings, which was, about 2 weeks ago, gentlemen? Give or take a few. Well, they did get swept by the Toronto Blue Jays. Then They lost 2 out of 3 to the Cleveland Indians. Then they actually turned it around a little bit. The Yankees actually won one, two, three, about 3 games in a row before they lost to Toronto. And then they actually took a full 3 game set then they actually won a 3 game set. Oh yeah, I'm right. Then they won a 3 game set over the Minnesota Twins, swept them 3 straight, then lost 3 out of 4 to the Cleveland Indians, and then and then lost 2 out of 3 to the Houston Astros until they just won tonight. So what's gonna happen is this: they gotta finish out the series with Atlanta, then they start the month of September with a set with the New York Yankees. Then they go up against the Tampa Bay Rays back at the stadium, as they call it, a 3 game set with the Orioles. Then a crucial 4 game set with the Toronto Blue Jays. And gentlemen, this might, in a way, this could be the series that could decide the American League East, to say the very least. So with that said, my number 10 is the New York Yankees. Anthony, it's yours.
The last power rankings were 2 weeks ago there, Fletch. I did forget to mention, before I get into my power rankings, I got some breaking news from the world of professional wrestling, courtesy of Matt Ward. Sarah Stock, best known to many of fans who follow TNA as Sarita. Michael Fletcher, I know you're going to love what I'm about to tell you. Apparently, she's going to be leaving the CMLL, and there is speculation going around now that Sarita could be joining NXT as a trainer. So I posted the link on our text chat, so definitely give that a whirl. So keep in mind it's just a rumor now about her possibly going to NXT, but definitely a special thanks to Matt Ward for providing us that breaking news story. So I'm sure we'll definitely keep an eye on that in the weeks and months to come. So it's been a breaking news night. First the Rousey news, and now that, unreal. So there you go. Now, as far as who I have, I got to be honest, Fletch. I got the Yanks a little higher, not a whole lot, but I got them a little higher. So I definitely have to disagree with you on this one, with all due respect. To me, I do have a couple of honorable mentions. One of them is the LA Angels of Anaheim. They're 2 games over 500, but I haven't liked what I've seen out of them. And same can be said for the Washington Nationals. I mean, those are my 2 honorable mentions. Other than that, I really can't put anybody else in there. So, with that said, I have a tie at number 10. Those 2 teams are the Texas Rangers and the Minnesota Twins. You got the Texas Rangers 66 and 61, Minnesota Twins at 66 and 62. Texas has won 2 games in a row, 6 and 4 in their last 10. Minnesota 1 in a row, but they're 7 and 3 in their last 10. They're definitely picking up again. So started off with the Texas Rangers. Starting to make a little bit of a run towards Houston in the AL West. They'll be a lot higher, trust me, when we move on there. So let's see what they did. Since our last rankings, they swept the Tampa Bay Rays 3 in a row. They outscored them 22-10 in the process. And then they followed that up by taking 2 out of 3 from the Seattle Mariners. And then they took 3 out of 4 from the Detroit Tigers last weekend going into SummerSlam. And then the rough patch, they did hit a rough patch, losing 2 out of 3 to the Toronto Blue Jays, another top team in the rankings for sure. And but they salvaged that last game against Toronto, and then they won tonight against the Baltimore Orioles, a team that's going down. Barring a major run, it looks like Baltimore will not be repeating as AL Eastern Division champs this time around, unlike that magical year they had last year. So they have 2 more games against the Orioles this weekend. That's in Arlington. And then they go up to San Diego for a series with the San Diego Padres. And since this is our last rankings, I'll mention it. Um, LA Angels of Anaheim following that. That's a 3-game series. And then a 4-game series at Seattle around Labor Day. And then they host the Oakland A's for 3. And then the Houston Astros for 4. Another 3-gamer with Seattle. 3-gamer with Oakland. And then they go to Houston. And then they end the season at home against the Detroit Tigers for a 3-game set. So I know I probably went a little too far, but you know, so 2 more with Baltimore, 3 with San Diego, interleague series in San Diego, and then they go to LA Angels of Anaheim, and so I think I probably should have just gone till next week. So, but nonetheless, though, I mean, they're 4 games behind Houston. I mean, they're starting to make a run. Who knows? Can they catch Houston in the AL West? It's very possible, but right now, I gotta say. I'm a little iffy on that. I still think Houston's going to come out of that division. And what a great story that would be for them. So, yeah. So that's it for that. Moving on to the Minnesota Twins. They're my other cone number 10 this week. Okay. I don't know what happened, but my standings there just disappeared for some odd reason. I don't know why, but okay. Nonetheless, Minnesota. I mean, you know, I've been crapping all over this team for a little bit. I mean, I didn't really like what they had been doing, you know, for the better part of the last month or so, but they're starting to turn it around. I mean, they definitely have, put together some good stuff here. Okay, here we go. I do apologize for that little pop-up. Since our last rankings, they won 2 out of 3 from the Cleveland Indians. Yes, they got swept by my Yankees 3 in a row, but then they followed that up big time with a 3-game sweep of the Baltimore Orioles, outscoring them 22-7 in the process. Actually, it was a 4-game sweep of the Orioles. I beg your pardon. 26-10 was the spread, and then they followed that up by winning 2 out of 3 from Tampa Bay. 2 out of 3 from Tampa, and then they won tonight against Houston. So that's a big deal. So they have 2 more games against Houston this weekend at home at Target Field, and then following that, they start the month of September with a 3-game. I believe it's a 3-game. Yes, a 3-game series with the Chicago White Sox, and then next weekend they go to Houston. Take on the Astros. So, but other series to watch for, big 3-game series against the Kansas City Royals. Then they have the White Sox again, then the Tigers, Angels, Indians, Tigers again, and then they end the season in Cleveland against the Indians. So definitely keep an eye out on that. So yeah, cone number 10s. Texas Rangers and the Minnesota Twins. So, Michael Bullock, who do you agree with at number 10? Do you agree with me or do you agree with Fletcher?
I'm going to go with you, Florio. I'm going to say tied at number 10. It is the Minnesota Twins and the Texas Rangers. So, yeah, you pretty much made the case on both of them. So, really got nothing else to say except let's move on to our number 9.
All right, and number 9 is where I'm gonna start it off at number 9. Hopefully, yeah, I don't know what's going on with this, but okay. Moving on to my number 9. It looks like there's a difficulty with Yahoo, so I'm just gonna get my standings from. Okay, here we go. All right. Yep, they have the information I need. Okay, so so I had Texas and Minnesota as my cone number 10s. Let's see. All right. My number 9. I got to go with the your defending World Series champion San Francisco Giants. I mean, they have won 2 in a row. They're playing the St. Louis Cardinals now. I know they're 4-6 in the last 10, but the record's still there, 68-59. I'm punishing this team because, mainly because of that 4-6 in the last 10, but the record's still there. And let's see what they've what they've done here. Since our last rankings, they had a 3-game sweep of the Washington Nationals, and then they lost 2 out of 3 to the St. Louis Cardinals, and then they lost 3 out of 4 to Pittsburgh. But one of the main reasons why I still have them in the rankings, big one, they took 2 out of 3 from Matt Ward, Chicago Cubs. A couple of weeks after they had lost 4 in a row to the Cubbies. So they got the Cardinals now. They have 2 more against them this weekend. They're 4-4, I believe, in the 8th inning right now. So we definitely have a Shakespearean drama-laden game there in San Francisco. Then they go to the Dodgers. They're going to have the Dodgers for a 3-game set, and then they go to Colorado for 4 after that. And then other series to keep notes of: Arizona at Arizona, home to San Diego, and then they're going to be going on a major homestand, guys. A 9-game homestand, 3-game series with San Diego, Cincinnati, and Arizona towards the end, and then following that up with a 6-game road trip. 3 at San Diego, 3 at Oakland, and then the end of the year, fellas, get ready for this. It doesn't get any better than this. Final series of the regular season against their most hated rivals, the Los Angeles Dodgers, at home in San Francisco. Now, if that doesn't scream Shakespearean drama, I don't know what does. So to me, my number 9 is the San Francisco Giants. So, Michael Bullock, let's have your number 9 now.
Yes, my number 9. I agree. I gotta go with the San Francisco Giants as well. So, yeah, you pretty much touched on the statistics. So, excuse me. My number 9 is the San Francisco Giants. So, Fletcher, let's have your number 9.
You know what? I have to say this. The way I feel about this is, I kind of, I understand where you're coming from, guys. But I kind of slightly disagree. I got San Francisco a little higher. Sorry to say. My number 9 was actually, this is where I would have put in the Minnesota. I actually had Minnesota Twins here at number 9. So I put the Twins here at number 9, and that is my feeling. So yeah, Twins at number 9, and let's move on.
Bullock, do you want number 8 or do we?
I'll take this.
All right, great. Who do you got?
All right, my number 8. Yes, I actually have the New York Yankees as my number 8. I mean, basically touched on them already. Like you said, they are 5-5 in their. Well, yeah. Hold on a second. Yeah, they're 5-5 in their last 10 games, and hold on. I thought I lost it here for a minute. Trying to pull back. Yeah, but they did win. They did win tonight, and they are 5-5 in their last 10. But I really need to see more from them if I'm going to put them any higher. So, yeah. So Florio pretty much touched on them earlier. So, Yankees are my number 8. So Fletcher, let's have your number 8.
This is where I actually have the tie. This is where I have Texas, and I got San Francisco. You guys made all the arguments for me, so there's really no point for me to beat the horse with the stick, as we would like to say. So, Florio, go.
Okay. My number 8. Well, I got another tie. One of those is the New York Yankees. I will be honest with you, and my other number. Another number 8 is the Los Angeles Dodgers. That's how I feel. Here's the thing. Both teams are 5-5 in the last 10 games. The Yanks have won 1 in a row. The Dodgers have won 3 in a row. The records are about even. Well, it's a half a game difference. Both teams have 70 wins. Yanks have 57 losses, and the Dodgers have 56 losses. So let's see. So started off with the Los Angeles Dodgers. See what they've done as of late. Pull up my notes here. Since our last power rankings, they took 3 out of 4 from the Cincinnati Reds, and then they lost. They got swept in a brief 2-game interleague series with the Oakland Athletics, and then they got swept 3 in a row by the Houston Astros. But here's the thing: they followed it up very nicely, a 3-game sweep of the Cincinnati Reds, outscoring them 13-5 in the process. And then they won again tonight against Matt Ward's Chicago Cubs. So 2 more games against Ward's Cubs this weekend, and then of course, oh by the way, Sunday Night Baseball, Mr. Bullock, Cubs and Dodgers. There you go. There's your Sunday Night Baseball matchup right there. I know you're looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that one.
And then, of course, following that, that big series with the San Francisco Giants. I believe that will be in L.A. this time around, I do believe. It will be in L.A. That I do know. Oh, man. I mean, can you just think about that? I mean, the second greatest. Yes, it is at home. Okay, I just wanted to be sure on that. That's going to be a 3-game series, and then they go to San Diego for 4 following that. And then some notable series, and then, of course, following that, a 3-gamer at the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim Freeway Series, guys, on Labor Day. And then they go to Arizona for 3 after that, and then get this, a 10-game homestand. 3 against Colorado, 3 against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Definitely want to keep an eye out on that. And then 4 against the Arizona Diamondbacks. And then they close the season on a 6-game road trip. 3 at Colorado. And then, of course, that big 3-gamer at the end of the season against the San Francisco Giants. And you heard it here first, boys. That series is going to determine the NL West right there. So that's all there is to say on that. So first number 8 is the Dodgers. And my second number 8 is going to be my team, the Yankees. 5-5 in the last 10, on a 1-game winning streak, and oh yeah, I'm going to have a lot of fun with that one when I get to it in just a moment. It's going to be, let's just say when we get to that game, it's going to be a little fun for me, not so much for Fletch, but we'll get to that in a minute. Since our last rankings, they took 2 out of 3 from Toronto, 3-game sweep in Minnesota, outscoring them 20 to 14 in the process, although I know it's nothing. And then they ran into a rough stretch. They lost 3 out of 4 to Cleveland. I cannot believe that. But, after Cleveland gave us fits in Cleveland, they come to New York and they give us fits again. Unbelievable. But then another rough stretch. They lose 2 out of 3 to Houston. And in those 2 games, Houston outscored us 21-3. Ouch. But then the Yanks came alive tonight. Oh, boy, did they ever. Yeah, Michael Fletcher, what happened there tonight? 15-4 beatdown at Turner Field. How about that, huh? Wow. Oh, my goodness gracious.
Yeah, just 1 game, Florio. Just 1 game. Yeah. Remember, there's 2 more to go.
Yes, sir. 2 more to go at Turner Field. And then guess what? Right after that, Mr. Bullock, it'll be your turn because the Yanks will be coming to Fenway for a 3-gamer. I do believe. Yes, it's a 3-gamer. And then here we go, gentlemen. Another big homestand. They got a 10-game homestand of their own to start the month of September after they finish in Fenway. 3 against Tampa, 3 against Baltimore, and then right around the time the NFL starts it up, guys, 4-game series with the Toronto Blue Jays, and you heard that here, and you're going to hear it here first. That series could determine the AL East, but there is another series with those 2 later. Because following that 10-game homestand, they have a 9-game road trip. 3 against Tampa, 3 against the Mets at Citi Field, and then 3 at Toronto. And I'll tell you what, that 3-gamer at Toronto, the 21st to the 23rd of September, gentlemen, you heard it here first. I think that series is going to it's very likely going to determine the AL East right there. And then they close the season with a 7-game homestand to end the year. 4-game series with the Chicago White Sox, and then at the end of the year, Mr. Bullock, I know it doesn't mean much, but a 3-game series, Sox and Yanks, you can't think of a better way to close out the regular season than a Sox and Yanks series in the stadium. So there you go. Co-number 8s, the Los Angeles Dodgers and the New York Yankees. So Now we move on to number 7, and Michael Fletcher starts it off.
All right, guys, just to give you a little bit of a programming, a little update. We were talking about the Cardinals and the Giants. It's actually still tied 4-4, but a developing situation. Runners at second and third with 2 outs. I'm actually watching the game thanks to my subscription to the MLB.com. I got the MLB.TV, the season pass, so I've been having it all season long. And what a
It's
great
also on
time!
MLB Network too, Flash.
Yeah, it's on MLB Network as well. But like I said, very exciting to say the very least. Bases loaded situation right now, but we'll get into that, when we get there. Anthony made a compelling point, and I actually was gonna put the LA Dodgers here in this situation. This is where I got the Dodgers. Yes, it's 5-5, but they have won now 4 in a row, and they're at 71-56, which actually now puts them with the second best record in the National League. Actually, they are actually percentage points ahead of the New York Mets, but the Mets are definitely a lot more higher. We'll let you know where they are in just a little bit. But which is this? Number 6, guys, I believe?
Number 7.
Number 7. So this is where I put the Dodgers. So let's move on, gentlemen.
Fletch, with all due respect, I do have to correct you when it comes to the records. Everybody knows when it comes to the National League, St. Louis has the best record, but the Dodgers do not have the second best record. The second best record is actually the Pittsburgh Pirates in the National League.
Well, but if you go by the division, but you're going by divisionals, because remember, wild card, unfortunately,
I know.
Because of the fact that it's the wild card, it would not, that doesn't count. So basically, technically, if you go by the divisionals,
yes, the Dodgers have.
The Dodgers will actually automatically get the number 2 seed, not the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Right.
So,
and of course the Mets, with a very, and I do mean very bad loss, but I do know, but if I know Mr. Michael Bullock, he'll obviously take it because it was his team that got that big win.
Oh yeah, you know, the Mets definitely was flirting with number 1, but that loss definitely crippled them. So they're definitely on the outside looking in at number 1, no doubt about it. But
definitely, and especially with St. Louis. I mean, yeah. St. Louis right now is the front runner.
Careful now, because if they lose tonight, I mean, that actually might shift everything. So
it will shift everything.
I mean, right now, I think right now it's a 3-horse race at number 1. But the thing is that if the Dodgers if the Cardinals take a dive here, which, well, we're going to the 9th and it's tied, but if they actually should take the dive and lose to the Giants, there's another NL Central team that's gonna be the beneficiary of that big win.
Are you kidding?
We're just saying. So we're leaving it right there. We're gonna leave the suspense as it is. But enough about them. Back to the Dodgers, and that's the team I had at number 7. So, 71-56, and yes, technically they would be the number 3 overall, but because of the fact that you honor divisional champions first and then expand out, this is the situation where the Dodgers actually would be the number 2 overall, because of them being a divisional leader. So that's the only reason why they would get this. But they are 5-5 in the last 10. They do have a 4 in a row winning streak right now. They're 3 games up at the moment. Now, could this be 3.5 if the Giants should lose? We'll wait and see. Like I said, everything comes down to that 9th inning between the Cardinals and the Dodgers, and we are monitoring that game as we speak. We'll wait and see what happens there. And as far as anything else goes, that's it. So, Anthony, I give it to you.
All right. Definitely some major developments we're going to definitely keep our eye on. For those of you who do have the MLB Network, the St. Louis Cardinals and the San Francisco Giants are currently going at it right now, and definitely some. I know it's a regular season game, but there's definitely some Shakespearean drama going on right now, so you definitely don't want to miss that. So, okay, moving on to my number 7 when it comes to this latest installment of the for this final in Major League Baseball Power Rankings of this season. Hard to believe, but it is. I got to punish this team a little bit. I mean, last time it was very controversial. Michael Bullock and I had this team at number 1 2 weeks ago, whereas Michael Fletcher had him at number 2. But this time around, I got to drop them down to number 7. I have not been liking their body of work as of late. 6-4 in the last 10 games. They've lost 3 games in a row. The Chicago Cubs are my number 7 in the power rankings this time around. So let's take a look and see what's going on here. Since the last rankings, you know, they won 2 out of 3 from the White Sox, but then they were swept 2 in a row by the Detroit Tigers, 25-16. I mean, both of those games were very exciting, I'll admit it. And then they followed it up with a 4-game sweep of Michael Fletcher's Atlanta Braves, much to his chagrin. Cubbies were playing some good ball for a while. You know, they beat Cleveland, and then they beat San Francisco first game, and then they lose 2 out of 3 to San Francisco, and then they lose to the Dodgers tonight. So 2 more games against the Dodgers this weekend. That's going to be at Dodger Stadium, and then obviously they go to then they have a homestand where they host Cincinnati for 3, and then 3 more against Arizona, and then a massive road trip. We're looking at a 10-game road trip. 3 at St. Louis, 4 at Philadelphia, and 3 at Pittsburgh, and then, wow, oh boy. And then a 10-game homestand with 3 against St. Louis, 3 against Milwaukee, 3 against Pittsburgh, and then a makeup game on September 28th against the Kansas City Royals. Rained out game on May 30th, and then finally, and then they end the year with a brief 2-game series in Cincinnati. So we'll keep our eye out on that. So, I mean, they were doing some good things, but then, you know, 3 in a row. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to. I got to make note of that. So, Chicago Cubs are number 7 for me. So, Michael Bullock, who do you agree with? Fletcher and me.
I'm actually going to go with a tie at number 7. And it's oddly enough the 2 teams that just played, the Chicago Cubs and the LA Dodgers. So yeah, so you guys pretty much touched on both of them. So with that being said, let's just move on to our number 6.
All right. I believe Bullock's number is up on that one. Do you have it, or do you?
It's actually you.
It is actually you, Florio.
It's
You're
Florio.
up because I started it the last time out.
Right. Oh, that's right. Yes. Okay. Yes. All right. Okay. Let's see. 6 now. Okay. As I look at it, my number 6 is, you know, they took one on the chin tonight, but, you know, I've liked what they've done over the last, you know, few games. They're 7-3 in the last 10. They're a first place team, and my number 6. I got to go with the leaders of the American League West. That team being the Houston Astros. The Stros are going to be my number 6 this time around. Since our last rankings, they took 2 out of 3 from Detroit. They split a 4-gamer with Tampa, 2-2, and then a big 3-game sweep of the LA Dodgers. That's big. And then they took 2 out of 3 from the Yanks at Yankee Stadium, and then of course the loss tonight to Minnesota, and then 2 more games against Minnesota this weekend in Minnesota, and then a homestand, 6-game homestand with 3 against Seattle and 3 against Minnesota. And then a very long road trip coming up, a 10-game road trip, which sees 3 at Oakland, 3 at the LA Angels of Anaheim, and then 4 in Texas. And then a and then they follow that up with a long homestand, an 8-game homestand. Uh, no, my mistake. A 9-game homestand. My mistake. 3 against Oakland, 3 against the LA Angels of Anaheim, and 3 against Texas. They end the season on the road, a 3-game road trip at Seattle Safeco Field against the Mariners. So, yeah. Number 6, Houston Astros. Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, my number 6 is the Houston Astros as well. So you pretty much touched on it. So Fletcher, you're number 6.
All right, guys. My number 6, actually, this is where I actually had the Chicago Cubs. You guys were making a very compelling argument about it. Yes, the 3 losses in a row does not sit well with me at all. It leaves somewhat of a bitter taste in the mouth, to say the very least. And I kind of feel like this one is one of those that, could have, should not stand, and will not stand, at least in my eyes. And we'll wait and see what happens there. But I'll tell you one thing: it is very compelling what's going on, to say the very least. You know what? It's time to get into the top 5. So let's do it, gentlemen. Top 5.
All right, Michael Bullock, do you have your number 5, or do I have to defer?
You can. I'm not quite ready with mine yet. So can you toss it up to Fletch?
Number 5 number 5. This is easy for me, guys. Houston Astros, 7-3 in the last 10 games. Yes, they did lose tonight to the Minnesota Twins. Bad loss, to say the very least. But Houston is doing very good. They're holding their own. A lot of people thought, they're going to wilt under the pressure, with the Angels being so good lately, and with Texas trying to make a big run, and all of a sudden. But Houston is hanging in. They're still on top of the division. And, I got to say, man, this is the furthest they've ever gone divisional lead-wise. If they can slam the door and win this division, this is going to be one of the most unlikeliest of teams to make the postseason. But I love their body of work. I am definitely buying the Houston Astros this season. They have been so remarkable. What a season they've had, to say the very least. And I'm so pleased that Houston actually, for once, is a very good team. I'm very excited for what the possibilities could be. I think if they keep this team, keep this young team together, who knows, guys? They could be dangerous for years and years to come. I hope, if they don't blow this team up. But I love the body of work. I love what they've been doing. To me, well-deserved being in the top 5 in my eyes. Number 5, the Houston Astros. Anthony, it's yours.
Yes. My number 5, when it comes to the power rankings this time around, let me see. I just want to make sure I have everything correct here. Okay, yep. All right. My number 5, I got to go with the Kansas City Royals at number 5. 2-game winning streak, 7-3 in the last 10 games. Best record in the American League at 79-49. The defending American League champs, looking to prove that last year was not a fluke, and they're definitely well on their way to doing that. Since our last rankings, they swept they took 3 out of 4 from the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, swept a 2-game series with the Cincinnati Reds in Cincinnati. They split a 4-game series with the Bullock's Red Sox. They lost the first 2, but they won but then they won the other 2. They won games 3 and 4. And then they took 3 out of 4 from the Baltimore Orioles in an American League Championship Series rematch from a year ago. And then they went into Tampa Bay and beat the Rays tonight, 3-2. So they have 2 more games against the Rays this weekend up at Tropicana Field. They're off on Monday, and then they have another long homestand. That's been a theme of these power rankings, guys. Teams have long homestands, and after they wrap up in Tampa, they're going to have a 9-game homestand, all against Central Division rivals, 3 against Detroit, 3 against the White Sox, and 3 against Minnesota, before they're off on September 10. And then they have a long road trip. It's a 10-game road trip with 3 at Baltimore, 4 at Cleveland, and then 3 at Detroit, off on the 21st, and then 6-game homestand with 3 against Seattle, 3 against Cleveland. The makeup game against the Cubs at Wrigley Field, September 28th. That's the makeup of the May 30th game that got rained out. And then at the end of the year, at the White Sox, U.S. Cellular Field. That's a 2-game series. So there you have it. So Ned Yost's boys keep on doing what they're doing. I mean, this team, that magical run to the World Series a year ago. Definitely, like I said, they want to prove that last year was not a fluke, and if they keep playing like this, they're well on their way to doing just that. So they're going to be a force to be reckoned with come October. I can guarantee you that. So, man, you talk about how Fletch says it's great to have Houston as a relevant team again. How great is it to have KC as a relevant team again, guys? That's all there is to it. So, really loving their body of work. So with that said, number 5, Kansas City Royals. Michael Bullock, are you ready now at number 5?
I am ready now. Yes, it is the Kansas City Royals as my number 5. So, yeah, so really nothing else to say. You just pretty much mentioned everything on them. So Kansas City Royals is my number 5. So that being said, let's move on to number 4.
Yes, and number 4, I have the unenviable task of having to start it. Yes. This is a tough one for me when it comes to it. I'll tell you right now, it's between the Toronto Blue Jays and the New York Mets, if I'm being honest with you. Because, for the number 4 spot, yeah. One's going to be 4, one's going to be 3, and then, of course, you also have St. Louis and Pittsburgh to figure in. Any update on that St. Louis-San Fran game?
As it stands, we're at 4-4, bottom of the 9th. Runners at first and second with 1 out.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we're gonna have to keep an eye on that. So feel free to interrupt with an update anytime, Fletch. If anything.
Yeah, I'll definitely let you know.
Because this has major implications, folks. I'm gonna tell you this right now. So yeah, because initially I was gonna put the New York Mets at number 1, but they suffered a very bad loss tonight. I do mean very bad. An inexcusable loss to Michael Bullock's Boston Red Sox. I mean, I was primed and ready to put them as the number 1 team. I mean, I know they should be in the top 2 at the very least, but you got Pittsburgh playing well, you got Toronto playing well. I mean, this is an unenviable position for me. So I'm sorry, guys. I know this is going to ruffle some feathers, but when you lose to a team like Michael Bullock's Red Sox, I'm sorry. That's pointless. It's unnecessary. It's unacceptable, and it's inexcusable. Plus, like I said, you got Toronto playing some damn good ball. Pittsburgh, you better believe they're playing some damn good ball. And, of course, St. Louis, hello, the consistent team here. So, but we may have to watch that. So, yeah, this is going to ruffle some feathers, but I don't give a damn. I'm just gonna have to go with the Mets here because Toronto. I mean, both teams are 8-2 in their last 10, but the Mets, though, I mean, you lose to the Red Sox. I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, I cannot. I am not gonna let that go. I'm sorry. I just can't do that. So it's gonna ruffle some feathers, I know, but the New York Mets are gonna have to be my number 4 because of that. So. If they had won, they most certainly would have been number 1, no doubt about it. But let's see. Since our last rankings, they were swept 3 in a row by Pittsburgh. They went 1-1 against Baltimore in a 2-game interleague series. They swept Colorado. I mean, they did some things to Colorado. I mean, unbelievably. I mean, outscoring them 33-19, and then 4-game sweep of Philadelphia. I mean, they did some things against Philly as well, including a great comeback last night. But they outscored them 40-21. I mean, I know they should be the number 1 team, but when you lose to a team like the Boston Red Sox, like I said, a team that's going nowhere. I'm sorry to say that, Bullock, but a team that's going absolutely, positively nowhere. I'm sorry. I cannot and will not allow that. I Cannot. So, I'm sorry. Two more against the Red Sox this weekend, and then, of course, homestand continues with three more against Philadelphia, and then, of course, they have, of course, the theme of these rankings, long road trips. 10-game road trip with 3 against Miami, 3 against Washington, and then 4 in Atlanta. And then they follow that up with a 9-game homestand with 3 against Miami, 3 against the Yankees Subway Series, and then 3 against Fletcher's Braves there. And then they close the season on a 6-game road trip rather, with 4 in Cincinnati and then 2 in Philadelphia with an off day on the 28th. So this team have been playing some. I mean, no team was hotter than this team was, but you lost to the Red Sox, dude. No. I know Bullock's saying yes because it's his team, but hey, man, be proud. I mean, that's a statement win for your boys, Bullock. I mean, I'll tell you that. Especially when you're going up against that three-headed pitching monster of Matt Harvey, Noah Syndergaard, and Jacob deGrom. I mean,
and you gotta admit, Boston's been doing pretty good actually since John Farrell actually left the team. I mean, give it up for Boston. Even though they're out of the mix, 7-3 in the last 10, and winners of 2 in a row. I mean, that's actually pretty good for Michael Bullock. So he definitely has a reason to be pretty proud with the Red Sox.
And I'll tell you this right now: if the Red Sox can finish the season strong, maybe they can take something going into next season.
Yeah, maybe they can.
Especially now with that new with the change in ownership.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to keep an eye on that for sure. They have won 2 in a row. They're 7-3 in the last 10. They're 59-69. They're 13 games out in the AL East, obviously. So, yeah. But I'm sorry, man. I mean, that's a bad loss to take. I'll tell you, it's simple arithmetic. It's a lot like 2 weeks ago. I know Fletcher's going to say I'm a prisoner of the moment, and rightly so. But if the Mets had won tonight, simple as this, they would have been the number 1 team, hands down, regardless of what St. Louis would have done tonight. So, but losing to a team like Boston, it's not just the loss to Boston. It's also the fact that Toronto's still playing some damn good ball. I mean, I've really been impressed with Pittsburgh, and then of course you have to throw in St. Louis. So it was not easy. It's not an easy decision. I know it's not a popular decision. I know they should be the number 1 team, but I'm sorry, I can't do it. With the way those 3 teams have been playing, and with the loss to Boston, bad loss in my book, very bad loss. So with that said, number 4, reluctantly, and I do mean very reluctantly, it is the New York Mets. So I know I've ruffled some feathers. I'm sorry if I did. So hey, I got to be the Tim McCarver, and like I always have been. So with that said, Michael Bullock, I know you probably disagree with me, but who do you have at number 4 anyway?
Yeah, this is very tough indeed. But in all honesty, I gotta go with the New York Mets. I do agree. I mean, it's just that with the way, like you said, with the way Pittsburgh has been playing, the way Toronto's been playing lately, and with the way St. Louis, well, as they played all throughout the season, it's tough to go against.
Gentlemen, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but we just gotta walk off. The San Francisco Giants has just defeated the St. Louis Cardinals by the final score of 5-4. A base hit with the bases loaded, bottom of the 9th, walk off. Giants win.
Ooh, so that's definitely gonna make some changes to the power rankings.
Major shake-up. Keep going, Bull. Go on.
Huh?
Weren't you in the middle of yours?
Oh, yeah. So, obviously, I got to put the New York Mets in there. So, yes, and now with this this breaking news that Fletcher just gave us, I think we may have to make some changes when it comes to our top 3. So, the New York Mets is my number 4. So, that being said, Fletcher, who do you have at number 4? And this definitely is going to bring some major shakeups to the top 3.
No doubt about it. A major shakeup in the power rankings just occurred just moments ago. Because of that, St. Louis just dropped to number 4 for me. St. Louis has just dropped to number 4 because of that loss. Basically, the Mets or I was gonna say the Mets or the Toronto Blue Jays were probably gonna be fighting for the number 4 spot. Not anymore. This actually just cleared it up in my eyes. For my top 3, this just made life so easier for me. As it stands, my number 4 team is the St. Louis Cardinals. Yes, they were winners of 5 in a row. They did not win tonight, and that definitely was a power ranking implication type game in my eyes, and they just lost. So, sorry guys, call me prisoner of the moment. They just suffered dearly for this loss. St. Louis just dropped significantly in my eyes. The top 3 just opened up big time. So yes. my number 4 is the St. Louis Cardinals.
I think I'm going to make that change myself, Michael Fletch. I think I'm going
to. Yeah, same here.
I think we're going to have to put St. Louis in at number 4 now, with this tough loss to San Francisco. I mean, they were definitely poised to be that number 1 team. If they had won this game tonight, then I definitely would have had St. Louis in the top spot, if I'm going to be quite honest with you, because they were the hottest team after the Mets were. But I'm going to move the Mets up, and I'm going to put St. Louis in at number 4. The loss drops them now to 82-46, which is still the best record in all of baseball. But that's a tough loss, to say the least. So since our last rankings, they won 2 out of 3. They won 2 out of 3 from Miami, and then 2 out of 3 from San Francisco, and then they lost 2 out of 3 to San Diego, and then a 4-game sweep of Arizona. Very impressive. 22 to, I believe, 8. Yeah, 22 to 8. They outscored them, and then the loss to San Fran tonight, 5-4. 2 more games against the Giants this weekend. Of course, that's an NLCS rematch, and then for the Cardinals, a long homestand. I believe it's a 10-game homestand with 3 against, a 9-gamer rather. 3 games against Washington, and then 3 against Pittsburgh, major implications there, and then 3 against the Cubs. So they got some tough games ahead because Washington's been getting better, and then they have a long road trip, which starts with 4 in Cincinnati, and then 3 against Milwaukee and 3 against the Cubs. That's a 10-game road trip. And then a 7-game homestand, 3 against Cincinnati, 4 against Milwaukee, and then get this, fellas, 3-gamer at Pittsburgh at the end of the year. You heard that here. You heard it here first. That's going to determine the NL Central right there. So I'm going to move the St. Louis Cardinals to number 4, and I'm going to move the Mets up to number 3. So St. Louis is number 4. The Mets are going to be number 3 for me. I don't know how you guys feel about that. So with that said. Now we're in the land of confusion now. All of the great Genesis songs. We're in the land of confusion. I don't know who goes up next
now. I'm actually up next.
Oh, it's you both. Okay.
It's Bullock. Yes, it is.
Yeah, I'm supposed to lead off next, so with number 3. But the thing is,
you're moving St. Louis to 4 now, right?
Yeah, I'm moving St. Louis to number 4 and the New York Mets to number 3 now. So that's pretty much all I can say now. I mean, we basically just talked about it, so I think we all had the same thing, but I think we should let Fletcher reiterate his number 3.
Well, and we were very compelling about the Mets and the whole 9 yards, but I was gonna say this, guys, that initially it was too close to call about it. Yes, I would have been understandable about the Red Sox and the Blue Jays and the whole 9 yards because the Blue Jays beat the Tigers. The Tigers are a team that's kind of in the basement right now. The Red Sox, yeah, there was that loss. Even though it was an extra innings loss, and I think the Toronto was a regulation game. So, I mean, it was a lot of debate about where this was going to go. But then St. Louis absolutely just catapulted themselves and basically opened the door for the remaining 3. So I mean, it actually fell into place. I mean, we were in a state of confusion. I think that state of confusion is no more. I think what just happened is that St. Louis kind of made us see the light, and now we're basically following that path. And I think we're pretty much in unison from here on in. So yes, the Mets, you were originally number 4. Now you're up to number 3. You get punished a little bit, but not bad enough. You basically live for another week, at least in the top 3. So good job for you guys. Yes, they deserve it. Unofficially, they are the number 3 team in the National League. Best record in the NL East. They are far and away. They're clear away now with the divisional lead. 8-2 in the last 10 games. Yes, they did lose tonight. However, so did the Nationals. And oh, by the way, the magic number. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but we got to start doing it, because it's going to come to that point where sooner or later magic numbers are going to be thrown out there. But the magic number for the New York Mets to capture the NL East is now 29. They're 29 away from capturing the NL East. So that's the magic number for them. But they are number 3 in the power rankings, no doubt about it. Because of St. Louis's big-time stumble tonight, they got reprieved for this evening. They benefit. So let's move on, guys.
Okay. Number 2, I'll start it off. I do believe I started off, correct? I just want to be sure on this.
Yes, it's you, kid.
Okay. All right. Number 2. We were in the lane of confusion, but now I think we're out of it now. Because it's definitely a clear path now. My number 2 is the Toronto Blue Jays. They're 8-2 in the last 10 games. They're on a 1-game winning streak. So here you go. Since our last rankings, they lost 2 out of 3 to my Yankees there. That big series in Toronto a couple weeks back, and then they went 1-1 against Philadelphia in a 2-game interleague series. 3-game sweep of the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. I mean, outscoring them 36-8, 36-10 rather in those 3 games. And then they took 2 out of 3 from the Texas Rangers, and then they won tonight against the Detroit Tigers. So that's a big win there. Even though Detroit's absolutely going nowhere too. I mean, they're a last place team. I mean, one of the biggest disappointments in the game this season, no question about it. I mean, they started off so great, and they tapered off. They have 2 more against the Detroit Tigers this weekend at home at Skydome Rogers Center, and then they host Cleveland for 3, and then an off day Thursday, and then they host the Baltimore Orioles for 3 in a row, and then a 10-game road trip following this, and all against our teams, guys. 3 in Boston against Mr. Bullock's Red Sox at Fenway. Big 4-game series at the stadium against the Yankees. Will definitely be very significant over who will win the AL East. And then a 3-game interleague series with Fletcher's Braves at Turner Field, the 15th through the 17th. And then a 9-game homestand, all against AL Eastern Division rivals, 3 against Boston. And then that big 3-game series, September 21 to 23. That big 3-game series at Skydome with the Yankees. You heard it here first. I'll say it again. That series is going to determine who wins the American League East this year. You heard it here first. They're off on the 24th, and then they have their final homestand of the season there against the Tampa Bay Rays for 3 in a row. And then they end the season in Baltimore at Camden Yards, 3-game series with the Orioles. So, yeah, that's all there is to it. So, number 2, Toronto Blue Jays. Michael Bullock, who's your number 2?
Yeah, Toronto Blue Jays, number 2. Really nothing more to say. Fletcher, you're number 2.
Toronto number 2. Guys, time for number 1. Mike Bullock, you lead off.
Yes, I will lead off on it, and I think we all can agree on this one. It is indeed the Pittsburgh Pirates. Yeah, I mean, boy, can you imagine? What I mean, the craziness what we saw tonight, and now the Pittsburgh Pirates find themselves as the #1 team in the power rankings. Of course, winners of 3 in a row. Of course, 8-2 in their last 10 games. Yes, yeah. So definitely been playing some really good ball as of late. Of course, since our last power rankings. Of course, that was of course a couple of weeks ago. They swept the Dodgers. However, they did lose 2 out of 3 to the St. Louis Cardinals. They swept the New York Mets. They took 2 out of 3 from the Arizona Diamondbacks, and of course they did take 3 of 4 from the San Francisco Giants. They took 3 of 4 from the Marlins, and then of course they won against the Colorado Rockies. So yes, 2 more against the Rockies this weekend, and then the rest of the season. They have a 3-game set with the Milwaukee Brewers, and another big series, another 3-game set with the St. Louis Cardinals, and then a 3-game set against the Cincinnati Reds, and then from the 10th through the 13th of September, a 4-game set with the Brewers, and then the 15th through the 17th, a 3-game set with the Chicago Cubs, and then 18th through the 19th, they go on the road. Well, the 18th through the 20th, they go on the road they basically finish off their road portion of the season with a 3-game set against the Dodgers, and then the 21st through the 24th, a 4-game set with the Colorado Rockies in Colorado, and then the 25th through the 27th, they go to Wrigley Field for a 3-game set with the Cubs, and then they finish up their final homestand of the season, the 28th through the 30th, a 3-game set at home against the Cardinals, and then to close out the season, a 3-game set October 2nd through the 4th against the Reds. So definitely this team has been playing some good ball, and this team is of course looking to advance further in the playoffs. Of course, we all remember 2 seasons ago they took the Cardinals to that the full 5 games in the division series, and then of course losing in the wild card matchup last year to the Giants. So there's definitely some high expectations for this Pittsburgh Pirates team. So #1 Pittsburgh Pirates. So Fletcher, you're #1.
Yes, indeed, Michael Bullock, you're absolutely correct. It is the Pittsburgh Pirates. Basically, they were on the outside looking in. I don't think a lot of people thought that they were going to be #1 a few minutes ago. I think they were definitely within the top 2, maybe top 3. Now, all of a sudden, off of the heels of the events that has happened here tonight, the Pittsburgh Pirates have found their way to the top spot of the final power ranking for Major League Baseball for 2015. Man alive, what a night this has been indeed. But congratulations to the Pittsburgh Pirates, man. They did it. It was a long road for them, but they deserve it. They earned it. They had a very hot streak lately. They've been winning games, crucial games. They're right in the thick of the NL Central, and they are holding one of the 2 wild card spots right now. They actually will be the home team if the season should end today. They're the #2 overall in the National League, and they are definitely poised for a major run. But remember, there's a team like the Chicago Cubs that might beg to differ, because right now they would play them in the wild card game, or the wild card playing game, I should say, to say the very least. So we'll see what happens there. But yes, without a doubt, they deserved it. They earned it. They are number one. The Pittsburgh Pirates, hands down. Anthony, go.
Yep, and I will make it unanimous. The Pittsburgh Pirates. Raise the Jolly Roger, boys. They're the number one team in the power rankings for our final Major League Baseball power rankings of this 2015 season. Major League Baseball power rankings will return sometime next 2016. We don't know when that will be. Probably be right around the April or May, depending on how the schedule works. So we'll have to wait and see on that. But yeah, that's definitely going to put an end to this season finale edition of Strictly Sports. We definitely want to thank you all so very much for tuning in all season long. Through all the hard times and Noggin, Diva, Dinkelberg BS we had to put up with, but summer of hard times. I mean, everything that we had to endure, it finally comes to a head next week. So I'll get more into that in just a moment. But right now, it's right around time for our shout outs now. So you know how this works. Michael Bullock, you start it off, then it's Fletcher, and then I'll wrap it up. So Michael Bullock, let's have your shout outs first of all.
Of course, yeah, definitely. We want to thank you all so very much for listening to us all season long here on Strictly Sports. Definitely, it was fun, but definitely we had to deal with some hard time Dinkelberg nonsense. But yes, can't wait for College Football Friday to finally arrive next week and start talking some games. And yeah, can't wait for all that. And of course, shout outs to all of our tremendous fans and viewers who continue to support our shows, whether it's this or the Wrestling Forum. Of course, shout outs to our super fans, Dee Woodson, Kevin Woodson, Matt Ward, Jason Hicksonbaugh. Of course, shout outs to all of our friends from our high school days, Al Britterson, Jimmy Alden, Rob Parsons, Eric Carrier, Tom Souza, the First Lady of Strictly Sports, Kaiser Butler, and the First Lady of the Wrestling Forum, Megan Silva. Of course, shout outs to of course our news personalities, of course Ken Bell from ABC6, Yanni Caracas, Mark Dondero, and Patrick Little from Channel 12. Frank Carpano and Joe Chiara from NBC 10. Of course, Jenny Dell, of course of CBS, and of course, from our personalities from ESPN, of course, Sarah Walsh, Lindsay Zarniak, Lisa Kearney, Jay McCarthy, Jamie Sire, yeah, and of course Robert Flores, Jonathan Coachman, and Todd Grisham, and of course shout out to Jonathan Coachman, who covered SummerSlam for ESPN, did some really good job covering it. Of course, he did interviews, of course, with John Cena and Randy Orton, of course, earlier in the day, and definitely enjoyed that coverage. And of course, shout-outs to our friends from Fox Sports 1, of course, Aaron Andrews, Carissa Thompson, Julie Stewart-Binks, Jill Arrington, Katie Nolan, and of course, a former everybody who used to host Crowd Goes Wild over there, and yes, of course, Julie Stewart-Binks as well, and of course, the former Celtics reporter Emily Austin, and of course, our friends from the Road Show, of course, starting off with the former co-hosts Mary Larson and Megan Mooney, and then of course to the three current people, Will Gilbert, Brendan Kirby, and Michaela Johnson, and then of course Status Sorrell and Lindsay McCormick. And I know this is not sports related, but this is something to touch up on. Of course, shout outs and of course heartfelt condolences to the news station WDBJ out 7 out there. Of course, reporter Allison Parker and the photographer there were shot down by this ham and egger jabroni Dinkelberg, who on live TV, of course. Let the summer of hard times continue. Definitely can't wait for College Football Friday next week. But of course, we want to let everyone know that everyone at WDBJ that we're thinking of you during these hard times. So, and of course, shout out to the friends and family of those who were killed in that despicable act by that guy. And I'm not even going to say his name. So yeah. So we're definitely thinking of you. So with that being said, That's going to do it for me. So until Monday night for an all-new edition of the Wrestling Forum, where, of course, we will review another edition of Monday Night Raw. This is Mike Bullock saying thank you all so much for listening to us. And, of course, you know the routine. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah. Throw it up Fortune 4 style. Bye for now, and enjoy the rest of your weekend, everybody. Of course, as always, God bless and be good to each other. And, of course, Mike Bullock, so long for now, everyone. Fletcher, your shout-outs.
Yes, indeed. First off, I want to say a very special thank you to all the great fans who's been with the Wrestling Forum and Strictly Sports throughout the year. You guys, the love, the support, everything that you guys do. You guys are the best in the world. You guys already know that. To all my friends in the junior high and high school days, I love you guys. To the 2184 crew, you guys are awesome as always. To all the super fans out there, you guys already know. Very newsworthy night, to say the very least. Thank you, as always, for hanging up and hanging with us during the evening. So until then, for Monday night, I'm Mike Fletcher. You know the routine. Hugs and hand pounds. I'm out. Basically, thank you so much. Have a good night, everybody. Anthony, take it home.
All right. Indeed, I will, Mike Fletcher. I mean, definitely want to thank you all so very much for tuning in to Strictly Sports all season long. All the stuff that we had, from the tournament to other things, and of course those Noggin Diva Dinkelberg moments. I mean, that it made the Summer of Hard Times, this Summer of Hard Times, a lot worse than the Summer of Hard Times 2 years ago. But it made the Summer of Hard Times 2 years ago look like a friggin' picnic in Candyland, for God's sakes. But with everything that we had to endure this summer, I mean, this summer has been far and away worse. I mean, the never-ending Deflategate BS, the deaths of Hulk Hogan, the deaths of Rowdy Roddy Piper and the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, the Hulk Hogan racist nonsense, the Hulk Hogan racist scandal, and this pointless and unnecessary tragedy that went down. I mean, really? I mean, haven't we been through enough Summer of Hard Times? Ridiculous, man. Absolutely ridiculous. I mean, this goes to show you, I mean, it's what happens when friggin' Dinkelbergs rule the damn world. That's all there is to say about that. These damn Dinkelbergs, I've had enough of it. Quite frankly, I'm not doing this nonsense anymore. Trust me. But nonetheless, let's try to focus on more positive stuff here. All the stuff we did during this regular season edition of Strictly Sports, all the stuff we did, the NFL draft, the NBA draft, the Stanley Cup playoffs, the NBA playoffs, the tournament, and all these other things, baseball and hot stove stuff. But that all goes away because next week it is the return of College Football Friday. We'll get into that in just a moment. But nonetheless, special shout outs to all of our tremendous fans out there who have made Strictly Sports the success that it has been all season long. And then, of course, the stuff with the Wrestling Forum there. We appreciate that as always. Of course, all of our super fans, Dee Woodson, Kevin Woodson and the family, Matt Ward for sending us that big news story in the world of professional wrestling about Sarita, Sarah Stock possibly joining NXT as a trainer. Dirt Sheets in the chat box, so check that out, Fletch, if you haven't already. And then, of course, Kaiser Butler and Megan Silva, along with Tommy Souza, Eric Carrier, Jimmy Alden, Al Bradis, and Rob Parsons. Of course, Derek Ferreira. I mean, it would have been great if we could have had him on tonight, but unfortunately that was not the case. Bullock went through all of our local television personalities, but I do have a couple of notes really quick that I need to share. One of them shared a birthday this week, Jamie Sire of ESPN. I mean, it was her birthday this week, so a very special B-Day to her. Of course, you also mentioned Carissa Thompson, Bullock. Carissa Thompson's going to be a part of, she's going to be hosting, I believe, one of the NFL kickoff shows on Fox. I don't know which one it is. I don't know if it's the one at 11 a.m. or if it's the one at noon. I don't know, but she's going to be there nonetheless. And then let's see, pretty much touched on everybody else. I mean, all our friends from the Road Show, Michaela Johnson and Will Gilbert. Brandon Curry on vacation this week, but I'm sure he'll be back on Monday. And then Megan Mooney and Mary Larson, of course, Stata Sorrell and Lindsay McCormick and everybody else. So, and then my church family, at Voices of Grace Ministries on Silver Spring Street in Providence. So, yeah, that's going to do it. So until Monday night for the Wrestling Forum, of course, Monday Night Wrestling Forum, and then next Friday night, the premiere of College Football Friday Season 2, man. Looking forward to it. So, top 25 action, and that's pretty much it. I mean, no need to do preseason power rankings. We're not going to do that nonsense. So that's it. So until Monday night for the Wrestling Forum, it's Anthony Florio here for Michael Fletcher, Michael Bullock. Then you know the routine, everybody. And of course, in spirit, Derek Ferrera, of course. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah, Florida 4-4 style. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you all Monday night for the Wrestling Forum. So until then, you've been watching Strictly Sports season finale right here on the Zone 25 on YouTube.com. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. And for now, Anthony Florio. So long.